right. How you doing? You're all very welcome. You're all very welcome. I trust you're in good form as we celebrate the festive spirit. It is a Connacht special. We get texts from Connacht listeners all the time saying, why aren't you talking about Connacht? What's with this? What's this Leinster love-in every Monday night? Munster FM. We're in Connacht now. It's about time. It's about time. We are very thankful to Andy Friend in particular, who, as I'm sure you can imagine, is quite busy. He's going to come along. I presume we're full of Connacht supporters here tonight. Yes. I presume Cyril Farrell is a popular man in this room. I presume there are no England supporters in the room. Oh, there are. Any Will Greenwood fans here? Excellent, excellent, excellent. So listen, we're about to get underway. I should tell you we are going to have our Centre of Excellence challenge here. You'll see what we've done there. It's very clever. We're giving one of you people here this evening a pair of tickets to Connacht against Toulouse. That's on the 11th of January in the Heineken Champions Cup. You will also look after the coin toss and you'll get a stadium tour. So that's a very nice prize. All you have to do to enter that prize, very simply, is tweet us a selfie. So tweet us a selfie, take a selfie in the crowd, say you're having the time of your life or not. That's not obligatory. And use the hashtag OTBHRC, OTBHRC, and tag Heineken_IE. So tag at Heineken_IE. And you're in the competition and you might be up here on stage answering questions and all that kind of thing. Now, they didn't send me alone. I have a co-host. You may know who he is. Brian O'Driscoll, everyone! Good man.
Hello.
Very welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Good man. Did you ever play at the sports ground?
Lots of times. I didn't win at the sports ground very often, but I played there, I'd say 5, 6 times.
Oh, that many?
Yeah. Was that meant to land a bit better than it did?
I genuinely thought that could be a 0.
Genuinely?
I just thought, you know, cold night, the rain. Pro 14,
they
Pro
don't
12.
always know that when they pick the team on a Tuesday. If it was picked on a Friday, it might have been down closer to 0 or 1. But
and you're 0 for 5 there.
No, we're not 0 for 5. I think we got a couple of wins,
okay.
but I'd say it's close. Victories, losses.
Right. And
yeah, good times.
Yeah. What was the sports ground experience?
Mixture. We got a couple of sunny days, but more often than not great. And I don't know. I think felt even in the early 2000s when Leinster were probably seen to be a superior team. It was always a dogfight. Those derby games are always brutal, irrespective of what the form team is. To go to the sports ground or go to Ravenhill or go to Thomond, it's always super tough, and it was no different here. So, yeah, difficult for them these days as well.
Yeah, it sure is. We'll talk more about that with Andy Friend and Tiernan O'Halloran in a while. But first, we're delighted he's made the trek over. It's great to have him with us. 31 tries in his 55 appearances for England. A World Cup winner. Familiar face, I'm sure, on your TV screens as well. A warm welcome, please. Will Greenwood, everyone!
Good boss. Hi, brother.
Welcome.
Will, you're very welcome. Jump in. You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Did you play at the sports ground in your day?
Yeah, in the old Challenge Cup. Harlequins seem to get Connacht every year. And we played them in a couple of knockouts, actually. A really tight quarter-final. It might have been a semi-final in 03, 04. And we scraped home. I think we won at our place and lost over here. It was a beautiful day. Is it still inside the dog trap?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Good, yeah. I wasn't sure, because I haven't been for a while. And I just wondered, I know you call it the sports ground, but I just knew it was a dog track.
which is a sport.
There's a new stand going in, though. All right?
Yeah.
When's that start for construction?
Oh, I'm not too sure. It's imminent, though, isn't it? Need the money first, said somebody.
You've opened up a can of worms there, haven't you?
Anyway, moving on.
That's not how it works. Just build it. We'll be fine, ultimately. Look at the FAI. You can do what you want, really. So Will Greenwood, to give the very, very short version, came through at Harlequins, then 4 years at Leicester, then back at Harlequins for another 6 years. England from 97 to 04, 31 tries and 55 appearances, no less. 3 Lions tours, 97 through to 05. An MBE, thank you very much, a World Cup winner's medal. Do you sit back now a very content man when you look back in your career? Is that more than you would have imagined?
I was training last night at my level 5 rugby club, Maidenhead, full contact. I had one of the suits on. Remember those big suits on?
You got into a suit?
Yeah, still train with the lads. I was a North of England kid from Blackburn. I was really lucky. My dad was an England captain, England coach, so I used to follow him everywhere, all the grounds. We were based out of a little club called Preston Grasshoppers, which is like level 4. He was the one who discovered Wade Dooley. Literally, they had no second rows in England, and he turned up to a selection meeting in about 1983, 84, and he went, "I've got this massive bloke." And I went, "You can't play for England in level 4. He says, "Well, have a look at him first." And he took Wade Dooley down, the policeman from Preston. So I was brought up on a rugby pitch. We lived in Italy in the 70s when people like Andy Hayden, Brian Ashton, those sorts of characters were going over to Italy to try and spread the gospel. Weirdly enough, why did the Italians love rugby? Because Mussolini, in the old days, loved rugby, so that's why the Italians took on rugby. Same in Romania. Dictators tend to like rugby. Romania was Ceausescu, and they love rugby, and so they adopt that sport and they back it, and with it, everyone wants to be El Duce and follow the leaders. So we spent 6 years in Rome. Best 6 years of our lives. I was only little, 1 till 7, and then came back. And actually, you missed it. You know, you did say Queens. I started at Preston Grasshoppers, and then a club called Waterloo, where I played with me and Austin were the first teamed up together there. Paul Grayson was in that team. So we had a sort of 9, 10, 12 in Division 2 that would go on and do all right. Benny Kay came through from Waterloo. Lovely little club on the Fylde coast. Some lovely links courses around it. My dad was from Bootle. And I've gone back. The rugby in the middle, the international stuff was great, but I've gone back to just running around on a field. Some lads give up straight away, never want to see another rugby ball for the rest of their life. My missus, I wouldn't know what to do if I didn't have Tuesday and Thursday night training. Lashing it down with rain. Most fun I've had this year.
What age are you now? How's the body?
All right, I'm 47.
Great nick for 47.
Pardon?
You're in great nick for 47.
Yeah, so I do this, I do a couple of, I wouldn't say I was an explorer, that would be like so ridiculous to say, but I go every 2 years and do something to raise money for a baby charity. So 4 years ago was Kilimanjaro. We took 15 midwives up Kilimanjaro. 2 years ago, I took 12. I took 12. There were 3 special forces involved with me. We went to the North.
Follow me.
We went to the North. Did the North Pole 2 years ago, which was the most amazing thing I've ever done. Just extraordinary landscape. And then this time around in March, I've just got Brian very kindly to sign a couple of shirts, and O'Connell and Paul O'Connell and Keith Wood, and I sort of auction those off at different events. I'm running across Costa Rica with Dean Mumm, the Australian second row forward who played in the World Cup final in 2015. Awesome bloke who's also been through some pretty tough times. Him and his wife Sarah with childbirth and labour, and so we do our bit to thank the doctor that has basically allowed us to have children.
Wow. She's fantastic. Suddenly feel it. Brian, what have you done?
It obviously is a double win because, you know, you strike me as the sort of person that needs something to look forward to, a goal to target as well. And so that's why every couple of years you plan something out.
Yeah.
What sort of level of training goes into what's happening in March?
So I've always assumed, right, because I mean, these hands, look, never went near a ruck. Very rarely made any tackles. These hands are not made for really. I was a economics and maths grad at Durham and worked in the city, so I completely rely on other people to plan, to sort routes out, to get right equipment, to get ice screws, to get sleds, to get the right skis, so everything. Literally, I just work out. If I can be the fittest bloke there, then I won't be a burden to the group, and I can bring energy to the day. So I'm sort of this sort of happy, the donkey. You know the donkey from Shrek. Just I'm okay. We're okay. We're at the North Pole. It's minus 60. Let's go again. Come on, let's do this. This is fun. Isn't this fun? Isn't this fun? Oh my God, I'm going to freeze to death. But no, keep smiling. So that's my view on it. And I think my view is, as you know, with fitness, if you do a year doing nothing, it's a real ball ache. to then get back to those sort of levels where you can be Donkey from Shrek. So I just try and stay Donkey from Shrek the whole time.
And when you're saying you're trying to be the fittest person on the trip, what does that entail with your training? Are you in the gym every day? Are you working that hard as well as your rugby?
No, I train 4 days a week for never longer than 40 minutes.
Okay.
I train with a really cool... I'm a group trainer. I do classes with people. I really struggle on my own. I get bored quickly and just end up on the phone checking what's going on and that sort of stuff. So I joined a little group, and we've got some awesome people in a little poxy gym that's 60 quid a month, just outside Windsor. And it's a little haven where I go around the back of the industrial estate, park up, leave all my troubles. Not that, I'm very lucky to be really happy found that sort of stuff, but leave everything all the baggage at the front door, go in, shut the brain off, train hard for an hour, go attack again.
Did you always pride yourself in, as a player, being one of the fittest out there, or is that a new phenomenon since retiring? Genuinely,
yeah,
that's a genuine question.
Yeah, no,
I don't ever remember. We would have had a lot of ding-dong matches, and I never remember thinking, hearing the lads going, "Oh, Will was leading things, or he was smashing things."
No, I could always run. I went to a school called Sedbergh. In fact, we used to play against Blackrock. Always got beaten by Blackrock, but used to play for Sedbergh, and we were in the Lake District. And our Easter term sport was fell running. That's as a 13 to 18-year-old kid, that's a pretty brutal sport to do for a whole term. We didn't play Sedbergh, we went fell running, and they always say Courtly, Calf and Winder. There were the 3 fells around Sedbergh, make the Sedbergh mat. So, and then I had a dad who was obsessed way before fitness came into rugby with creating a fit team. And that mid-80s England team hated him. Because he made them train. The concept now in the old days, what do you mean train? We just pass the ball around, we don't do any defence, we do a little bit of ball and attack, and we go down the pub, we have 10 pints. And he introduced like a 3-miler. And I promise you, Brian Moore and Simon Halliday and all those, they said they would hide in the bushes rather than do a 3-mile run. Can you imagine someone like Billy Vunipolar's arse hanging out of a bush? That came out completely wrong, by the way. But hiding, can you imagine him hiding in a bush with it and so I remember my dad, as everyone said, was he like England, pushy? But I said, no, he'd always said to me, do what you want with your sport. But if you knock on my door, we didn't have a door, we didn't have an office, I wasn't like that Victorian upbringing. But he said, if you ever ask me for help to train, you're going to play by my rules. So I was like, okay. So didn't ask. And then about 16, I sort of went, you know what, I quite like this. Can you help me out? And then I stepped into his sort of office, and my training regime sort of started then. But I just struggled. It's like being on literally a leather couch here. I'm literally having a psychologist moment. I struggle with weights. I struggle with putting weight on. But I could run all day, which meant I was fit enough to play rugby, but would fall apart once or twice a season.
Brian, you mentioned coming up against Will in his playing days, and you don't remember the fitness being talked about. But when you and Gordon Darcy were coming up against, say, Will and Mike Tyndall, for instance, what did they offer up? What was that like when you were planning for them?
Well, they're 2 very different centres. With Tyndall, you knew what you were getting. He was coming route 1 at you, direct. He was an okay passer of the ball, but he didn't love doing it. No. And he was in their team to get John O and Lawrence and Richard Hill at ball carriers off the next phase. That was his role. Whereas Will was able to carry over the advantage line, but he also had skills to be able to get the ball out of contact. He could pass the ball, so he was the connector to the back 3. You rarely saw England playing a move out wide that went through Mike Tyndall's hands. So yeah, it was Jesus.
We were very clear on that.
Yeah, no.
This is literally. So we always laughed about. He couldn't pass and I couldn't tackle, right? So I never made him pass and he never made me tackle. It was a pretty simple relationship.
It worked.
Yeah, he was the thing. I'm obviously, the same would go if someone asked you about Gordon. You would. Tyndall was a vastly underrated player. But what he was so good at, he was so aware that he wasn't good at certain things. But Jesus Christ, in a dogfight, you wanted him with you. He was proper nuts. Proper. I mean, when we won in South Africa in 2000, he was only a kid. And he had his weaknesses, but you need a tackle to be made on the line. And he'd do it. He just had this spirit that was extraordinary, and he loved it, and he had a smile on his face the whole time. And I always remember, you're in a tunnel before a final, and everyone's like ashen face and going, "Oh my God, what's going to happen here?" And he literally walked over to Sterling Mortlock, right, slapped him on the arse, and said, "This is why we play rugby, baby." And everyone was like, "Who's the nusser?" And we laugh and joke now. It's extraordinary. He's now 16th in line to the throne. Right. Yeah. Which,
surely,
Tyndall,
surely
right?
15th after Prince Andrew.
Yeah, we don't. I'm going to plead the fifth now. As a staunch monarchist, I am now shutting the fuck up for 2 minutes.
2003 then, so let's take Tyndall and segue into that. That is full of characters, that team.
Yeah.
And Clive Woodward at the head of it all. Can you give us a sense or a memory of how that team, once it really got into its groove, how it operated? When you get to a World Cup, for instance, and everything is set up nicely, how did that team work?
Go on, be slightly more specific. I could go so many different ways in that. Do you want me to talk about individuals? Do you want me to talk about who ran training, who were the leaders? Pick a topic.
I've deliberately left it open because they're all interesting things.
Right.
So maybe start with the big individuals, the ones that jump to your mind.
Martin Osborne-Johnson, right? If he rang us up this week and said there's a game on, we'd all be there. We'd fly in from everywhere. We'd hobble in.
That's because you're in better shape now.
No, but Leonard and some of the lads who aren't
not in better shape now
would be there, and you'd go, because he's got this. We called him the Ferengi, the Star Trek character with the ribbed forehead and the monobrow. We could call him. Do not walk into him. Ever call him the Ferengi, right? Oh my God! Because if you go after Jono, I don't like to quote the Greeks too often, but if you go after Jono, dig 2 graves. But he had the most incredible emotional intelligence, which is what he wouldn't be associated for. If you're laughing about either of those 2 words, you wouldn't associate with him. Put them together, you'd think extraordinary that he could be the best combination of that I'd ever. I'm not talking about intelligence like chemistry at school. I'm not talking about emotion and I'm going to hug you and tell you that I love you. But ask a bloke to understand and feel the pulse of the team, to understand what the team need that week, that day. Ask him to stand in front of them and bite the hand that feeds in order to protect his group of players. He'll do all of that. And then some. And he's the most loyal, wonderful, and with it, I played against him a little bit, but I would imagine a pretty awesome bloke to have to play against. So he was we had other characters, obviously Jason Roberts and Johnny Wilkes and Lawrence Dyer, but you go internally, you say, who's the key man? Who's the man you don't win that World Cup without? And people would throw the other names. The one name I would throw is we don't win that World Cup without him. No doubt about it.
Right. It doesn't surprise us overly because we had him, I think, was it 2 years ago, Brian? He came over ahead of the Grand Slam decider at Twickenham, certainly from an Irish perspective, Grand Slam decider as it was then. And he was almost billed as the pantomime villain. Here's Jono and we'll boo and it'll be great crack. But actually he came on and was this very considered, calmly spoken person. And by the end of the night, I think everyone was eating out of the palm out of his hand. He was the hero of the hour, yeah.
He never let us... let's say we lost you guys in 2001, Keith Wood around the back of the line-out. He never then said we were a 2 out of 10. We then might come back in 2003 and have a slightly better result, and he would not let us think we were a 9 out of 10. He was really calm at just keeping the tempo, the rhythm of the team, not get ahead of itself. He was a classic bloke. I mean, he literally... Tuesday training session, defence session, he would do as if it was the last training session he was ever going to take part in. He demanded you leave every ounce of sweat and work ethic out on the training field. He didn't talk about the will to win. The phrase I'll always remember from him, it was, you've got to have the will to prepare to win. And his preparation was extraordinary.
What was Woodward's place in all of this?
The best way to say him, he allowed individuals to be the best version of themselves. So he understood, and I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that if there might be one other, possibly Brian Ashton, any other Premiership coach takes over that role in 1997 and I don't get a cap. I'll fall apart, I'm a skinny bloke. But he picked me for what I could do. And he picked Jason Robinson for what he could do and said, Dave already teach him how to kick because he's going to be a fullback. You know, he picked Mike Tyndall because he could do. He didn't go, I need a balance, I need every player to do everything. He picked strong skill sets and then put combinations together. And I think that was his strength. And he created I know it sounds strange, even though we knew he was the boss, a collision-rich environment when it came to meetings. So we'd always be in the same room up the stairs, Penny Hill Park, and in there, whether you had one cap and it was like your first week there, or you'd be like Jason Lennon, you'd been there since time began, then you had an opinion, big thing on the wall, no dumb ideas, and a real opportunity to feel like you were driving the bus and had your hands on the steering wheel and part of it, as opposed to, this is what you're going to do, this is the system we're going to run. Actually, these are some, I mean, I take the mickey out. He used to come up with moves, right? You must have had some coaches like this that were complete gibberish. I mean, complete and utter cobblers, right? So Johnny didn't want to join in our reform group because it'd be Paul Grayson, myself, and Matt Dawson. We'd go into a little room and change the move completely, but keep the same name. And right, and after the game, like we'd score, and he'd go, "What was the call?" "Yeah, drifter." "Told you it'd work."
Really?
Yeah. Never, not a clue. He literally didn't have a clue that we completely changed the move and bore no resemblance to the move that he'd given us. So focused on the big picture and turning us into a professional team.
Okay. 2003, that month for you, and you know, you referenced the charity work you did at the outset, and you'd had a terrible time the year before, clearly, and then in the midst of the World Cup, which, you know, we talk about the stresses on the pitch, you get word that actually a terrible thing may be about to happen to your wife again. Now, in so much or as little detail as you want to talk about it, but that month must have been just the most emotional up and down roller coaster all over the place.
Yeah. So, I mean, the background, and I talk openly about it because it's a subject people don't talk a lot about. We lost a little baby boy called Freddie, 19th September 2002, and he was only alive for about an hour. My wife will tell you exactly how many minutes and exactly how many seconds Freddie was breathing for. And we then had all sorts of issues and complications. But through Mark Johnson, who's the bloke I go to the North Pole for, which brings in the other stuff earlier, he got us to a stage where we're a little bit more comfortable to try again. And then I got a phone call from him, and it was... I should know the date. It was probably about October 7th, October 8th. It was the week we were playing South Africa in the pool stage, a massive pool game. I know South Africa have just done it and been the first team that came second in a pool to win it. But historically, you didn't come second in the group in the old days and win. The route to the final was too tricky. So I had a phone call. I was playing pool with Mike Tyndall downstairs in the Perth Hotel. I remember exactly where it was. And he said, I think you need to come home. This was the doctor. It's happening again. So I didn't know what to do, where to turn. So you talk about what Clive Woodward does. So I went to see Clive straight away. And he goes, right, he called Louise Ramsey, who was our team manager, comes in and he books me on every single flight out of Perth that week. And he says, if you're not at training tomorrow, I know where you are. We'd love you to stay, but life's more important than a game of rugby. Make a call. So I then spoke to my dad. And he goes, look, last year robbed you of something you've always wanted. Don't let it rob you. So he had a slightly different view on what I should do. So I was slightly torn. And he wasn't saying don't go home, but he was going, this is everything you've ever worked for. There's nothing you can actually do if you do go home. So in the end, I decided to stay and play against South Africa and had a flight out the following morning at 8 a.m. And I didn't tell any of the lads. So the boys didn't know, just played, and then told them in the change room that I was going home and I'll hopefully be back. So I went home for a week, and then it was just really, I remember Josephine Barnes Ward, 3rd floor, Chelsea and Westminster Hospital, walked in thinking I'd see a ghost, and actually, by the time I got back, she'd come out of intensive care, Caroline, and she had colour in her cheeks, and I felt really enthused about what might happen. I stayed for 3 or 4 days and suddenly realised, like all blokes do in sort of maternity wards, there's not a lot you can do. And so Cara then took the decision, and it sounds a little bit cheesy. She said, look, you've got to go back to Australia. You win the World Cup, I'll keep the baby. And so I jumped back on the plane, went back, missed the Samoa game, and then it was straight back into Uruguay, but they weren't great at the time, so we won about 100 points, I think. Josh Lucas scored 5. It was back into it. And then it was after the World Cup that I sort of just went, and collapsed a little bit physically and emotionally. But yeah, I don't know if that's answered the question.
No, it has, yeah.
How were you in that South African game?
Yeah.
How was your head? Because the reason I say it as well, because that bit.
I know.
Right? So explain to people what happened.
So, you know, one of my nicknames from that World Cup is Rodney Trotter, right? And the Welsh gave it to me in a quarter-final a couple of Rodney, I won't say exactly what the Newport boys called me, but it started with Rodney. So, basically, I was a complete plonker against South Africa. They had this fly-off called Louis Kearn, Koen, playing at 10. Eust was playing, and they would decide to speak Afrikaans that night. They'd done a policy that we're only going to speak Afrikaans, we're going to intimidate. They'd had that, I think, Rudy Strowley, they'd had that camp before where they were with the South African military, and they dressed up tackle pads, they were naked and there were guns, and they dressed tackle pads up with number 10 on, and they were going to kill, and they tried to decapitate us at Twickenham the previous November, and Cornet Krieger had said, wait until Perth. And we were like, so anyway, knew it was going to be physical. My mind, I decided to play, and I was behind the posts with your Irish referee, Hugh, the referee, doesn't matter, but he's called Hugh, really nice guy.
Dave McHugh.
No, different one, but obviously knowing that well, I couldn't remember his name. And I was having a chat with him, and Louis Kearn had missed 3 kicks at goal already. I stood behind the post, and I was going, I was not. I said, "There's no way he's going to miss this. He can't miss this." I got myself chatting, and my brain was obviously in different places. And I caught the ball, as you do, right? When you catch the ball, and you're in the dead ball area, right? You've got to put it down, or you've got to run, yeah.
Or kick.
You've got three options. What you don't do is throw it 30 yards forward to Johnny for the 22, thinking nothing of it. And he's gone, shh. I'm like, what the Jeff's going on here? Yeah, you didn't put it down. 5 metre scrum, massive South African pack. Jono, everyone looking at me, not knowing what was going on. I'm like, oh my God. Luckily, Kieran Bracken, who's an absolute terrier, got in at the base and stopped it. But there was a realisation, I think, at the end of the game that I dodged a bullet psychologically and probably shouldn't have been on it. Clive was probably thinking, if he wants to play, I've got to let him play because he said he should play. But I like to think by scoring in the second half, I redeemed myself.
The reason I ask you, because I played when the day my daughter was born, and that was everything went terrifically, and I was on cloud 9, but going into a game with potentially negative thoughts, I can't imagine to try and get your head, because rugby is a mental game. But you see how one team loses one week and then gets hammered like Northampton, and if they went and flipped it this weekend and beat Leinster, that happens. Yeah. So the psychological aspect of rugby, maybe people don't always fully understand how important it is to get that part right.
Yeah, I think where we're lucky, especially because it was South Africa that week, what's the one thing South Africans try to do to you on a rugby field?
Bash you.
Decapitate you, right? So you've got to sort of be in the here and now. And actually, I've always found, like I go to Maidenhead now, I've always found rugby in the training pitch something actually where you can sort of leave things at the door, no matter what's going on, play, and then go back to real life. It's our little escape, isn't it?
Time's coming against us, as I knew it would, because you're so interested in so many things. 3 Lions tours, 97 before you were even capped.
Progressively worse.
Have a clip, actually, if we have it, JP, of, well, an incident I'm sure you don't remember with much fondness. The injury, I think it gets very serious in the end as well. We'll have a look at this. You can talk us through that.
Yeah. Well, my mum's off stage, literally. They'd just flown over. And it was the unofficial 4th test. And I was having the most fun on a tour ever. Alan Bateman. Did you play against the Batman? What a player he was. I mean, what a player. And we were tearing up the Free State. And clearly I don't remember anything about it. I woke up. I come to on the Saturday. I'm in Kings Park. I mean, I'm in a different town. I've got no idea where the last 3 days of my life have gone. James Robson is the guy in the middle. He ends up saving Tom Evans' life a few years later. The most amazing. He did 7 tours, I think he did, Robbo. And I didn't realise how serious it was until afterwards, until I spoke to him. And they literally thought I was dead, swallowed tongue, unconscious for 17 minutes. But there's always a funny angle to all these stories.
Unconscious for 17 minutes?
Yeah, they thought I was dead without, you know, it's not, but my dad, right, in the old days, if you got concussion, it was 21 days, 3 weeks, no matter what. Now they do all these HIAs and you do computer tests and you've got a chance that if you can beat the computer, it's not about beating the, you know, if you can con the system.
If you have a really good
yeah,
game.
Right, you'd be able to play again super quick. So he'd always said, my dad, I mean, part of me thinks you shouldn't tell this story because he should be reported to the social services. Because he always said, never leave the field with concussion, right? I'm like, well, for starters, how do you know you've got a concussion? So anyway, I didn't like to query him. So there was only room in the ambulance for the docs and one other person. So my dad got in the ambulance and my mum stayed with my sister and Jason Leonard was looking after them. And I'm on the way to the Bloemfontein hospital and my dad, who's now 78, we still have a pint about it and he genuinely doesn't know whether to laugh or cry about what he'd done to his son, right? Because I'm unconscious, swallowed tongue, my pupils have just shown a little bit of life. They get me to the hospital. Halfway to the hospital, and this is the power of the brain, right? That something's going on in there even though you're not there. I sit up and I go, Dad, tell him it's my hamstring. Boom, straight back out again. Promise you. And the doc in the ambulance was like, what's just happened there? And my dad, he sort of said, he did a little fist pump. And he just goes, he's all right.
That's my boy.
That's
my boy as well.
My boy. And then he thought, after the pump, it's like, what have I done to my boy?
Yes.
That my boy wants to play on Saturday.
Indoctrination of some kind.
Yeah.
2001, there's a young Brian O'Driscoll on tour. They put him in with roommate Will Greenwood. How does that go?
Great.
What was he like? What was he like?
Look, you know, he was. Brian said is, you know, hat tricks in Paris, stuff like that. That try in Brisbane, unbelievable. So I've always been a bit of a fan. I'm just a sports fan,
sure.
And my job has allowed me to meet extraordinary people post sort of playing. And as a player, I just loved hanging around with rock stars and superstars who could do magical things. What I didn't realise was he's the scruffiest bastard I've ever... Literally, I've always joked about it. I used to go back to my room and think we'd been burgled. Didn't really do hygiene and tidiness. It wasn't your thing then.
I was young.
Yeah. What does that mean? That you can be smelly and dirty?
I don't know, but...
No, not smelly.
As well?
Smelly's a bit excessive, but you wouldn't say you put anything away.
No.
You weren't as bad as
But
Rob Henderson.
there was no point in putting anything away when you're moving every 3 days. Surely just out on the floor,
we'd have to disagree there. As a boarding school boy, that was the whole point, to be like you. Anyway, but it wasn't. Why would we argue about this? It's not important. I roomed with Rob Henderson on the same tour. Yeah, same tour, and he was. I mean, you were an angel. So Rob Henderson used to come in because he didn't really sleep. coming from the pub about 3 o'clock in the morning and light up. Right. He'd then wake you up for a chat. He'd order room service, right?
And he'd order you. He'd have you have a ham and cheese
You,
sandwich.
you get one as
You'll
well.
have
Just
one.
in
Go
case.
on.
You have
Yeah.
one. Go on. He was a feeder. He's a feeder, is Rob Henderson. He then put on channel 901 on the telly. Right.
What was that?
That will be
Right.
edited. That MTV, right?
Yeah, MTV, put that on. And then, right, because he knew, honestly, we'd have a game of cribbage.
What?
Cribbage.
I never got the cribbage.
No, you never got the cribbage, yeah. And so this extraordinary four-ball of things would happen. 3 o'clock every morning, 9:01, cigarette, room service, game of cribbage. That's Rob Henderson.
Briefly, because we had Clive Woodward. Clive Woodward at a show a couple of months ago, and obviously he took over in 05, and that kind of tour has gone down in infamy in so many ways.
Yeah.
He said that, well, for a start, no roommates. I guess that was one of the changes. Whether that's a big deal or not, I don't know. But he said to us a couple of months ago that Shane Horgan came up to him at one stage on the tour and said, "You're not being yourself," which was an interesting comment. He got that sense from Woodward. What did you see with Woodward in 05, or was that beyond almost the management of any kind of genius? It was such a tough tour.
What I saw in 05 is he was always prepared to fail and try and do things differently. And he'd done all the stats, and he'd worked out that if you keep doing this, he'd sort of quoted Einstein, if you keep doing the same things and expect a different result, it's the definition of insanity. So we were talking earlier on that if we'd lost to Wales in a quarter-final, he wouldn't be a Knight of the Realm, and there'd be a load of players within that squad who would have come out and said, so I think he was himself on that tour. I think he tried to do things differently. I'm no one's apologist, but I feel as though you take Lawrence out of it with a broken ankle, you take Brian out of it 42 seconds into a game, you take two absolute talisman out. I'm not saying if they'd both been fit would have won the series, but you remove your key men and your guys who give you genuine belief. You then look across the team sheet and you go, they were pretty good then. You could have taken an intergalactic World 15 and still got beaten 3-0. And I also think that, and I'm here to be corrected, as always, I never had a bad Lions tour as an experience. I had a winning one and 2 losing ones. But in terms of actually what Lions tours are about and coming back from the far ends of the earth with an awesome group of friends who you've met, who you've been used to battering each other in, actually it's succeeded on that front. But if you get beat 3-0, you're going to be put in stocks and have tomatoes thrown at you.
Yeah. Life now is punditry. We see on our screens routinely. It's something you're clearly, and anyone who's listened to you tonight, you'd be a natural at it and you're a brilliant communicator. It's something you seem to really enjoy as well. Is that your full-time profession? And I know you do the podcast for Sky. Is that your main way of spending your time or earning your crust these days?
It certainly took a lot more of my time when Sky had some rights.
Yeah, it's precarious enough.
Yeah. It's,
these suckers on BT over here, God damn it.
BT and all that sort of stuff.
Do you think is the BT coverage any good, do you think?
Yeah.
You asking me?
I think they've got an extraordinary panel of players who properly know their stuff. I watch it because I have to with my job, and I really like Craig. And the whole vibe around it is very different to what we do at Sky. We've always been shirt and tie. And very smart and clipboards and Sky Sports clipboards, and the whole Sky thing. You will look at it on the Premier League. It's a cut, copy and paste model. That's how they like to do it. Much younger generation going after that sort of 18 to 30 category, and they're knocking it out of the park. We at Sky have to sit and wait and see if rights come up, and hopefully, if they do, we'll have a little nibble and get back into it. I love the Champions Cup, love playing in it, love being part of it, and now I sort of am, but from a distance from the writing angle. So to answer your question far more briefly than you intended me on that answer, I do about 2 days a week that involves watching games, writing about games, to stay on top of it, to allow me, for example, I knew we're at Connacht today, you know, to understand that actually they were only 17-16 down at half-time against Toulouse. They were 13-10 up against Montpellier at half-time, and they were 16-14 or 14-10 down to Gloucester at the weekend. So they've been in all 3 games and scrapping. It's still possible they can get out of the group. My view is I used the mum test, right? And I hope this is taken right. My mum was married to an England captain who was dropped, married to an England coach who was sacked, mum to a player who was chased out of Leicester. They thought it was rubbish, don't darken our doors again, was dropped from England and had sort of things thrown at you. Then I understand that actually, if you're the actual player, it's what you roll with the punches. It's the mums. Like my mum is like Lancastrian, and she would hunt people down who said bad things about me. That, you know, she with Dean Richards, you know, she said karma and stuff. You know, she's not a fan of people who don't treat her son nicely. And I think most mums, I think most dads like that, but mums, you know, it's certainly in our family. So I've always viewed punditry and writing. I use a very, very simple question in my head if I'm about to write it or I'm about to say it. I go, would I say this if their mum was sat next to me? And the view there is, if it's yes, I have to be able to justify it to their most important kin, why I'm saying they should not be in the England team, why I'm saying they need to be dropped, or why I'm saying this. And that's how I do it. And in order to be in that position to do it, like Brian does, like the BT guys do, you have to watch all the games, you have to be completely in control, or not control, you have to be on terra firma and be able to justify what you're saying. I've never been one, I hope I won't ever fall into it, for clickbait and just throwing out generic statements.
And did the business world interest you getting back into that, or was it staying
Yeah,
in
a few
sport?
little bits and pieces
Right.
going on. My brother has a really pompous way of putting it. He's a top-end lawyer. I'm plural. So I have 2 or 3 things that go on that I juggle. The other way that I juggle. That weirdly enough, sometimes I love the freedom and the lack of structure. But as you saw with the way I was in a room, I'm tidy in the way I train. I like to have routine. There's other times when I have this awesome job where I jump on a plane tonight and I come over here and I talk about rugby. I jump on the 7:30 tomorrow. I've got a couple of meetings. I love that flexibility. But there are some times where I'm sure you must think at the time. Sometimes with I see my mates, I wouldn't mind just a 9 to 5. Monday to Friday, and they go, no. stick with what you're doing. So
right.
I don't want to sort of be ungrateful for what I've got, and it's going okay at the moment.
Well, listen, we're going to bring you out later on to talk Heineken Champions Cup to us, but in the meantime, that was fascinating. Will Greenwood, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Will.
Good stuff.
Now, we are about to get our next guest on, so don't go anywhere, and then we'll have a short interval. I should tell you, as ever, we are here with our friends at Heineken Rugby Club, where fans get more out of the game, including exclusive member-only events just like this one, and tickets to the Heineken Champions Cup games. Join today at HeinekenRugbyClub.com. Brian O'Driscoll, did you play much hurling around Black Rockway?
We did not.
Okay.
We certainly did not.
Okay, well, that won't...
I went to one hurling training session in my life. I didn't have great eyesight back in the day.
Right.
But I also quickly realised it wasn't hard enough to play hurling from a very young age. Yeah, it's a joy. Good hurling is a real joy to watch. It's one of the best games in the world to watch. But I would not say I'm an expert at it in any shape or form.
That is not a problem, because our next guest is. He took over the Galway Hurlers. I mean, I know you all know this, obviously, but he took over the Galway Hurlers aged 30 in 1980 and led them to their first All-Ireland since 1923. And then he threw in another 2 on top of that. And he is just a legend as well, and we're delighted he's decided to pop along. Will you give him a warm Galway welcome? Cyril Farrell, everyone! Hi, Cyril.
Hey, Joe.
How are you? Great to have you with us. So we've been doing these things with Heineken Rugby Club, and we decided to get a guest along who's not necessarily rugby. Do you like rugby? Do you watch rugby?
Yeah, would you believe, up to the age of 19, I hardly ever missed an international with my father and a local teacher in a national school in Lansdowne Road before I ever got to Croke Park.
Right.
Yeah, so it was just, you know, we had 2 internationals in our time from the village. They probably never saw a rugby ball until they went to college. A fellow by the name of Dickie Roach, he was around Tony O'Reilly's run, and a second row forward called Mick Leahy or Mick Leahy played second row for Highfield and played for Ireland as well. But from the village, there would never be any rugby in it. Like. So.
Right. Did you ever play? No.
Yeah, I played junior at the highest level for Loughrea.
What position?
Full back. Handy spot facing the ball.
Nice and easy. Not in at hooker or anything like that.
Oh, no.
So listen, it's great to have you along with us. Your involvement with hurling at the moment, I know you still love the game and you're still passionate about the game. Are you going all around the country doing training or bits and bobs, or where are you?
I'd like to get to the games the weekend, and just last weekend I saw clear the first day out against Galway, kind of two new squads. Keep doing a bit with LIT in Limerick, because all the young fellas, nearly 99% of the young guys, say 18 to older now, are going to college. So you get to know the new lads coming through. That's my main reason. And it keeps you kind of in tune with the new, we call them game plans or scientific way of playing hurling, even though basically it's still the same game.
Is it?
Are there cycles like in rugby, we have these cycles of get bigger, faster, stronger, defence, attack. Are there cycles that go through hurling?
There are, yeah. Like I suppose in my time, like you get a ball and shift it. First time, like you move it fast. Now the way the game is going, it's all about possession, sharp puck outs. They kind of go through the lines. Cornerback will give it to a wing back to the centre field, to the wing forward. If it breaks down, the supporters will shout and get rid of the bloody thing. When it works, like it looks very good. But it's very, very skillful now, and they're very, very fit. But with all the going through the lines, it's gone very slow. Comes very slow to the forwards, and you have a lot more what we call rooks now than you had in olden times. The ball was going the whole time in the olden times. Now, like, it's all fighting for possession. And they kind of call it the middle third, say, from the half-back line to the half-forward line. Now the 3 half-backs, 2 midfielders, 3 half-forwards. That's where you need the strength now, like, to win that middle third. Whoever wins the middle third usually wins the game.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but as I understand it, you were implementing or trying to implement a possession game way back when with Galway, based on what you were seeing over at Liverpool and Arsenal.
Yeah, well, Arsenal and Liverpool. Liverpool had a thing like they played 7-a-side when I went over to see them train. And
how did you get over to see them train, by the way?
Don't ask that question.
I
can't tell you that. But they had.
No, so hang on. Just give us. Now we're amongst friends here, Cyril. Jesus. How did you get over to Liverpool?
Through contact. But
who?
They played a 7-a-side game.
No. Well, hang on, just 1 second. Was the contact Irish?
Maybe his parents were, I suppose.
And was it Steve Highway?
No. I probably shouldn't have been there. But they were playing a 7-a-side game.
So sorry, were you there or were you spying over the wall?
Oh, there was no wall. But they were playing a 7-a-side game. Control, pass, move. You could only touch once, control it once, pass, move. The other 7 were against them. It was only shadow tackling. You got 1 touch, control, pass, move. If you failed to do it right, there was 4 corners and 4 young lads there, and ticked off. You were charged a tenner if you lost control. But it was all about movement. Now, like they'll say, possession, pass, position. But it's still the same thing.
Yeah.
Now, in the Gaelic games, you have it now as well. It's come into it. So it's all about possession now. Like there, it was all about movement. And I was just saying to the boys in the Greenwood before I came on, I remember as a young fella going to see the All Blacks train out in Corinthians out here in the club ground. And it was very interesting that they were fit at the time, but they had 15 players, the 8 in the pack, say, in the backs, and they were playing against a shadow 15, no one on the pitch at all. And had all the ball boys around the pitch, and they were playing on calls, numbers. And I was asking the scrum half at the time, Sid Guin was his name. He said, we're hitting space. To me, that was new, like they were just hitting space and then stopping again. Now, it looked lovely training, but they were actually fit. So I brought him to see a UCG match, playing UCC in a place called Fahey's Field, and it was on about 10 minutes, and next thing the fight erupted, and he couldn't understand, like, that time now there was no helmets, well, a small little one, but like, he could belt away with the hurl, and like...
the good old days.
Yeah, it was, he said, I wouldn't like to be playing that. This guy, he was saying he wasn't tough, but he was as tough as nails, like, but he enjoyed the fighting.
Yes, the God, he did. So am I to understand from that, you were allowed into the New Zealand training, but it's the Liverpool training you snuck into? That's what we're saying here.
Yeah, well, like, there was a good friend of mine that time in Corinthians called Lord Merson, Owen Hosty, and he arranged that I could go in officially and look at it. Now, I suppose anyone could go in, but they wouldn't know it was on, like, you know. I snuck off from school, it was all right.
You were a teacher at that stage, I should say. Yeah.
Past life. Don't be telling all them secrets, George.
Jeez, people think you're a prodigious schoolboy.
The Department of Education could be.
Yes, well, listen, the bigger fish to fry. So, how do you take all of that and implement that into the Galway hurlers in the 80s?
Well, the big thing was possession. Win your own ball. That was the big thing that time. And devise a little game plan that suited us. I had fellas that would be physically very strong. And I remember taking over the team in the end of 79, 80, that winter, and it was the first meeting with them. I was trying to convince them that we would be the fittest team in the country, and I'll guarantee them they'll win. Now, it was easy to guarantee them. I was going to do that anyway, even if it never won. But like, it was hard in the sense that they were very good hurlers. They'd be way better hurlers than I was, and I was maybe some of them were as old as I was, and maybe older. And
you were 30, obviously, yeah.
And I had won nothing. But the big advantage I had is they had won nothing either. So we were all starting from the same. We're all starting from the same. So I convinced them that they would be the fittest team. So we had 2 matches that time before Christmas, just played the matches, no real training. But the 6th of January that time, for the older people here in the audience, it was a holiday at that time. And I brought them into a place called Carnmore Pitch. And we played UCG. I had contacts in the college in a challenge game, all right? I refereed it myself, and we did a physical session afterwards. I let off the UCG lads, and I made sure the lads were grounded, kind of like, you know, real muck, everything like that. So when they went into the shower, I told the groundsmen, have the showers on, no hot water. So there was no tea, no biscuits, no sandwiches afterwards, and into the shower. Now I had them covered in muck. Now that time, like, you'd have 1 set of gear. It wouldn't be like now, you'd have 5 sets. You know, like, and they went in, and next thing they started saying, where's that baldy effer? I was gone, like, you know, but it was just the start. I wanted to get to the start of a regime. Now to be considered crazy, you probably be considered, you know, you couldn't do it now, supposed to.
The HR would be called in.
Oh, yeah, you'd be called in.
Helmets and HR, the world's gone.
It was your version of ice baths, right?
Well, yeah, well, it was ahead of our time, like, you know.
So this was clearly to toughen them up mentally or something along
Yeah, well,
those
like,
lines.
there would be tough physical fellas, but I always felt that west of the Shannon, maybe I was wrong, but I felt that west of the Shannon, we were always apologising if we were kind of good. We nearly felt it wasn't all right to be good. And I found that team, the biggest thing I had to do was to change the mind, the mentality, that it was our right to win as much as anyone else's. If you were in Kilkenny, take over a team, they believe every year we're good enough to win All-Ireland. Whereas we'd be hoping we'd win All-Ireland, just to change the mindset, really.
Do you think the West still has that?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Really?
Well, like, if you go to any of the big corporations, the usual guy or woman in charge is from Cork. Why do you think that is?
Self-belief.
Oh, that's self-belief. Give me a Cork man that doesn't believe, sure, he's probably from Kerry.
And there's such brilliant people in the West. They should have every reason, you know.
The Mayo football team remind me of what we were like. You know, they're so near. You'd love to get them and just get them over the line. And it sounds easy to do it, and from the outside, it can be very easy. It's hard to do it inside. When you're not winning, like as Brian will tell you, when you're winning and do daft things, everything is perfect. But if you do daft things and lose, you're shot. And that's the way it is. Like, I've done daft things and I've seen trainers do that. But when you win, it's all okay. Like,
to go and win it then, and at 30, my God, to win it at 30. What was the homecoming like? I don't know, were family there, were friends there, or what are your memories of that in 1980?
well, I told the lads in the dressing room, I said, listen now, I know you're going to go drinking, but for God's sake, stay sober and enjoy it. Because some of these had hurled all their lives, and this is the big one to win. More than they hurled for, say, 2 or 3 years. It didn't matter to me. All I was drinking was a Diet Coke anyway. But I'll never forget, Joe Connolly was captain, and went out to my local school at the time, St. Joseph, Joey's Fairview. Strong, staunch, J8. And then the headmaster came, or the brother came, and he said, sir, I'm going to give the day off, no problem, CIE buses, you didn't have to ring the department. He was giving the whole school the day off. And he said, I'll see you this day week. That was a week off, and I thought it was manna from heaven. Here it was for a week. So coming home, that time there'd be reception in the Burlington on a Monday for all the teams, the 2 minor teams and 2 senior teams. Now, we weren't used to winning, but we were very used to losing. So like coming home, it took hours upon hours. I think we went down to the Sack Hotel, I think around 4 or 5 in the morning. But it was a fantastic, like, you know, you'd feel, it was the thing of winning rather than anything else. I'd say the medals didn't count for the fellas at all. It was just that feeling of winning. And I'll never forget I met an old man. I was old now myself, but that time I thought he was very old. I'm just as old now. But I met this fella in Galway before the final. And he said, Cyril, he said, I'll die happy if you win the All-Ireland. Didn't happen to meet him again about, say, before Christmas, sometime at the end of November. He said, you have to win another one now.
Oh, dear. And you did, and then you won another one. So it was a hell of an achievement. Punditry, you've enjoyed that over the years. You've been brilliant.
Yeah.
You've been brilliant at it as well. If there's a bad game of hurling, you lot still say it was magic.
But you see, there is no such thing as a bad game of hurling. If you look at the skill that's in any game, like, you see a fella there, you talked about the speed, say, of a tennis ball, or, you see a rocket of a ball when the lad catches, even in a junior hurling match, the skill, the first touch, that's what it's all about. And I remember when growing up, everyone had to catch the hurl the right way, say right hand on top. But as the game developed, like, the left hand on top, the likes of Joe Cooney, T.J. Reid, these fellas, it doesn't matter what hand is on top if you're good enough to be good at it. I remember my first, tell you how little I knew, I played Joe Cooney, the great Joe Cooney, his first game for Galway as a minor, a challenge game, he was in goals, which would be very unusual. But he had left hand on top, so when the ball had come on the right-hand side, no problem, he'd catch it there. But when it come on the left side, he'd catch the hurler and he'd catch it here. He was using both hands, which is kind of, not in hurling. But he was just so natural. Like, you could play him anywhere. Now he proved to be a great player out the field. But that was his first little game for him. He was only a 16 or 17-year-old little thin, skinny fella. But like, he just had the skill that he could use either hand.
It does require an extraordinary talent. There are very few hurlers, I can't really think of any, maybe someone can shout a name, but I across the players who might be interviewed who say, I only took it up when I was 15. It seems like what age do you have to have this kind of sport taken up by, do you think?
Well, I'd say the minute they're born, really stick a hurl in their hand. I know, you have to take it up early. You need to be handling. The hurl should become like a pen. You should be able to left or right. You want to be using it every day. Just get the feel of it. And if a young fella wants to be good, he has to get juice both sides. Just get touch, get the skill right first. Now, young lads are going to be maybe not strong and they're going to get bowled over. Don't have them even playing competitive games, but just get them to love the touch of the ball. They'll get better and better and they'll really get to like it. And most young fellas, like when they start, they love putting the ball into the back of the net. You must have a net. If you have a goal post and no net, it doesn't count. It goes right through. It has to hit the back of the net.
Yes.
That's the big one. That's what you get real kick out of.
Yeah. 2020. Who's going to win the All-Ireland?
Well, Limerick will probably feel that they've cooked it up last year. They gave a terrible trounce into Tip, then got caught by Kilkenny. Tip were in a good position in the sense the last All-Ireland they won, their top players were under 21 from the under 21 team, and they were playing under 21 in senior. This year, if you look at them closely, their top players, the likes of Brendan Maher, Pádraig Maher, Roland Maher, they're playing, but their top under 21s aren't on the team yet. They're buzzing to get on. Now they're in pole position, and but it's hard to put them back to back. 3 teams out of 5 in Munster will qualify, and no, they should qualify. Same in Leinster. It gives you a great chance. In our time, you'd play the All-Ireland B winners that have won about 5 matches. They'd play well against you, but you're going to beat them. But then, you either play the Munster or Leinster winners, and if you're beating a point, you're gone for the following 12 months. There was no second chance. It would lovely. You'd love to be around now in the sense the second chance or third chance. As a matter of fact, you can get beaten 3 times now and still win the All-Ireland, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. But the standard is high now. They're good. I saw, Wexford are training hard at the moment, which is very, very early. Right. Tip are back. Tip are playing next Sunday against Clare, who put out a kind of a second string last week against Galway, and Galway did the same thing. They won't put out a second string against Tip next weekend because they'll try to lay a marker early on. Tip are going on holidays, and if I know Brian Lowe and there's a Sean Tracy who I had on my team playing with them or training with them now, they will try to, get stuck into Tip and lay a marker, even though it's in December.
Coaching must have a huge impact on the success of the team. You look at Davy Fitz, you look at what's happened with Cody and Kilkenny for the last 10, 15 years, Liam Sheedy coming in with Tip. How much of a bearing does that have on the overall squad, or is that just the lift that talented teams need?
Yeah, well, there's no doubt about it. Coaching is need. The top coaches, you'll find that the good managers will surround themselves with top coaches. And the good guys will soon be heard of, but it's becoming, behind the county teams now, you'll have a statistician, a dietitian, a psychologist, physiotherapist, strength and condition. This is before I get into the team doctors at all. Like, there's a big team behind the team now. Like, you know, I asked Liam Sheedy was telling me that the biggest thing he found, and he was only there for years ago, since we went back this year, just this year gone, he had to have a second bus for the backup team. You know, that's the way it's gone. Like, you know, now, but the coaches have a terrible say, because they will be coaching the fellas, they devise the game plan, whichever it's going to be, and like the players will have to play to that. Some coaches can click with players, and more like you'd often see a guy not clicking with a team, and yet he goes somewhere else and does it. But again, you can have all the game plans you like, as you know, Brian. When it goes inside the white line, it's what happens in there. And hurling, like, say the rugby, like, it's detailed, everything is structured. You know, I mean, you might say that the ball from the scrum half to the out half and he kicks, but in hurling, you can have the game plans, but a terrible lot of it is instinct. And, you know, little things, the ball is so small, it can make it look good one day, bad the next day. I remember playing in Ireland semi-final against Offaly. It was a final with all the matches. And the ball, you know, the way the goalies would throw the hurls inside the white line, their second hurls, the ball, no, there was no Hawkeye, of course, no anything like that. The ball hit the hurl on the inside line and came back out. It wasn't counted. So, like, you know, they're the small margins.
But to your point, it's a very instinctive sport, and I think that to the detriment of rugby, we've become a very system-orientated game, particularly with Ireland this year, to our detriment, that we were worked out. Whereas I think that's why you talk about never having a bad game of hurling, is because it's ultimately this incredibly instinctive game that you genuinely don't know what's going to transpire. Whereas you put England against Ireland in rugby, or New Zealand against Ireland, you know the patterns that they're going to play against each other. It's just a matter of who can deal with who. Whereas that's not the case in hurling.
Yeah, well, if you analyse, say, you say the rugby team, the Irish team or the English team, you can analyse what, say, the out half is going to do most time, or the cause is going into the line out. You analyse, say Galway are playing Tip next weekend, and you look at Tip's last two games and analyse it closely for the players. I can guarantee you, when you go out, the goddamn thing will be completely different on that day. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'll never forget Limerick. We played them in that 1980 final. And they showed me the cards afterwards. They were given cards. Their coach was top class. But he gave the cards on what the corner forwards would do. Now, our two corner forwards were Noel Lane and Bernie Ford. Ford was young, Lane was around a little while, very young. And he had Noel Lane's card that he always cut around the fella and came in on the in line, which is hard enough to do around. But Lane did the direct opposite. When he got the ball, he came around on the outside. And I don't think he ever scored as much in his life from play all over. He got points from all over the place. Yeah. Now, the cornerback was doing what he was told. You can overcoach. Yeah. The same match, God forbid, he's passed away now, Niall McInerney, who came to us from 6 Mile Bridge in Clare, a great Galway person, and was, you didn't have to give him confidence because he believed. So we're playing Limerick, and Joe McKenna was the god, and he was very good to get goals. And most people thought to be Conor Hayes, who was a young Conor Hayes, and would be full back. And I was saying to my selectors, no, I said, McInerney will talk him out of it. And they said, what do you mean? I said, I'll have him talking, don't worry. And Mac wouldn't be given out, but he'd be kind of saying, Joe, no hurling, no goals today. What's happening, Joe? What's the 2 or 3 goals? You know, it'd be this thing. But Joe McKenna would always catch the ball, right, hold the hurl right, catch it and drop it down onto his left. I was saying to Mac, we had to work out in training, the left, we had lads going on the left the whole time. But when Mac could get a few points in, he hurled them all day, no score, no goal. Yeah. And in the very end, McKenna got a ball, and Tip McKenna, for once in his lifetime, he came around right and spiked it into the net. Not a big, but it still was a goal. Yeah. So when Mac had a few points in, he said, if I had a good coach, he'd have got no goal. So, like, you can overcoach.
Of course you can. Listen, we were planning to talk to you for 5 minutes. I knew that was never going to happen, and it was brilliant to listen to you. Thanks so much for making the time, and I think you can tell from the room you're a popular man. Cyril Farrell, everyone. You can sit there a minute. Now, the plan... We're going to take a very short intro. We are here with our friends at Heineken Rugby Club. We're thinking 5 minutes is plenty to go. Quick toilet break and come back and we'll get going again. We are here with our friends at HeinekenRugbyClub.com. Thanks so much. That was part 1. Brian O'Driscoll, Cyril Farrell, everyone. So we are ready to kick off part 2. We will be giving away in this section 2 tickets to the game against Toulouse, Saturday, January 11th. That is with thanks to our friends at HeinekenRugbyClub.com. You can sign up there for more events like these. We are in Galway, we are in Connacht, so we are delighted they've made time for us. We hope one of them is back on the field very, very soon. He's come through the Connacht Academy. He's coming up on 200 appearances, a young man that he still is. And we have a coach who is in the midst of back-to-back European games. So to say we appreciate him taking the time is an understatement. Will you welcome, please, Tiernan O'Halloran, Andy Friend, everyone. Come on, jump in. Andy, great to see you. You're both very welcome.
Cheers, thank you.
Tiernan, first things first, how are you? How's the body? And how many times do you get asked that walking around Galway on a daily basis?
No, it's good. It's going well. Obviously got injured back in October now. And originally I was kind of looking at 12 to 16 weeks.
It was a fibular fracture, was it?
Yeah, fractured my fibula and also had syndesmosis in my ankle. So it's a fancy name for basically doing a nice job on your ligaments in your ankle. So I went up to Santry in Dublin and got surgery up there. Pretty much I did the injury on Friday night. Had the op on Monday morning, so I was in there pretty quick to get in the road to recovery. But yeah, so I was kind of looking at originally 16 weeks, but so far it's progressed really well. So I'm back running now at the moment. Hopefully join into training next week, and then put my hand up for selection after that.
Great. And I mean, I guess it's always that tricky stage. You get back running. How does it feel? Taking the first tackle, all that kind of stuff. You're in the midst of that now. Yeah,
exactly. But look, I'm well used to now. I've had plenty of injuries throughout the years, so part of, I suppose, of that operation is getting a tight rope into your ankle. It actually just secures it in place, basically, it's basically doing the job the ligaments are supposed to do. So I've a tight rope in my ankle at the moment, secured in there, so you can't feel it. It sounds worse than it is. So I was back running 2 weeks ago now. Actually running in a pool for a while, then running on an anti-gravity treadmill. So they've all these fancy ways of getting you back on the pitch these days now.
When you say at the moment, that implies it's going to come out at some stage. Is that in there forever?
It is. It can be. It depends.
Like, implies it's going to come out at some stage. Is that in there forever?
It is. It can be. It depends. Like speaking to the surgeon, they kind of take out 1 and 4. It might just not bother you at all. You can just leave it in there. Some guys can just feel a bit of tightness off it sometimes, so they just get it removed. And it's only kind of it'll keep you out for a week job. So hopefully I won't feel the tight rope now. There's a few buttons or something in there as well. So hopefully I won't be buzzing going through airports now or anything.
Andy, friend, thanks so much for coming. Quiet week.
Yeah. We've had quieter weeks, I know that.
How are you a couple of days on from what is a disappointing defeat? Do you have to get in the habit of putting all this stuff behind you very quickly, or can you grumble to yourself for a couple of days?
No, I mean, it hurts. It always hurts when you lose. But I've been doing this for 25 years now. You learn to park it pretty quick, because if you don't, you're not ready for the next one. But yeah, it was frustrating. It was a frustrating one again, because we played some really good footy, but we just didn't finish it. And the intercept pass was probably the bit that gave Gloucester the belief, and then they went on from there. So that's parked. We got them this weekend, this Saturday, which is pretty special for us to have another crack at them.
Will, did you mention that you and Andy have come across each other before?
Yeah, Andy, 2004, 6, 5. We win the trophy. Did we beat Connacht?
We did beat Connacht.
Yeah, we did. We were chatting with a couple of guys. We couldn't remember. It was 01 or 05. We went on to win the trophy. So we worked together for about 18 months, 2 years at the mighty Quins. And then where did you go? You got the job with the Sevens, didn't you?
No, then the Brumbies.
Yeah.
So left Quins in 2008 and went to ACT Brumbies.
And then the Sevens.
No, then.
He's followed your career very closely.
He's been brilliant.
He said 25 years. Give him a second.
I got to the Sevens eventually. So I actually had a year off. So I took a year off. Got the sack, as rugby coaches do, and my wife had an accident, so we spent time with her. Yeah. So we spent a year with Kerry getting her right, and then went to Japan for 4 years, and then went to the Sevens.
Wow!
So 2016 started Aussie Sevens 2016 in the January, and took them to Rio in the August. So it was pretty special.
So other than Connacht, which is obviously your favourite job in the world ever. Which has been your most enjoyable coaching experience?
They're all different, every single one of them's got a great memory, and every single one of them, you meet great people and you stay in touch with great people. So this is really special. Connacht's really special, and living here in Galway is really special. I love my time with the Sevens. That's what a great life. Like our life was, we had 10 tournaments, and I know, Bod, you've been to a few of them, mate. See, Dubai, Cape Town, Sydney, Wellington, now Hamilton, Vegas, Vancouver, Hong Kong, Singapore, Paris, London, every year. And then your warm-up games, you're in San Jose, you're in Munich, you're in Borneo, you're in Suva. It's not a bad life. It sounds really like a cruise life. as my mates used to say, are they paying you or are you paying them?
They're all great places to go and have a piss up of a weekend, but you kind of don't do that on sevens.
You
know?
don't. And you know what? The worst place is Vegas. Honestly, the worst place is Vegas because we're not there to have the piss up. So we're there to perform, to try and get ready to perform. And in the Vegas hotel rooms, they don't want you in the hotel room. So your window doesn't open. There's no kettle. You got recycled smoke coming through your room. There's nothing to do in there. So where do you end up?
You tell me.
We're all in it. There's like 500 people. Where are we going?
No, you just read books.
Okay.
Andy, how many house moves have you had now in your life? Because it's a nomadic existence over 25 years. How many houses have you been through?
Well, we just moved into our 19th home in 25 years. Yeah. So when we moved here to Galway, we got some really good advice from Sloppy. Sloppy said, "Listen, someone knows him. You cannot get rent in Galway, so we've got this. We've rented a place." So we started paying rent a couple of weeks before we got here, and it was actually a great spot. But we're used to, especially in Australia, you're used to bigger homes where you can invite people around. Now it was a really neat little spot, but it just didn't suit the way we tend to do things. So I got here first, and my wife Kerry was back in Australia. She said, "What's it like?" I said, "It's brilliant. It's great. Yeah, it's got a couple of toilets and bedrooms. It's got a kitchen, and it's cool. Yeah." And Kez turns up and says, "Really? Really?" And I'm like, "What's wrong?" And then I went, "Yeah, whatever." So she started looking pretty much the day we got here. She got here. And we moved into a new place about a month and a half, 2 months ago. And that's our 19th home in 25 years.
Wow. And like, it is just a bizarre way to live your life. Do you still try and emotionally invest in the place? And by that I mean, do you try and make friends with your neighbours? Do you try and build those kind of relationships? Or at the back of your mind, are you almost thinking to yourself, not what's the point, but what's the point?
No, I never think what's the point. And the reason I don't think that, I remember as a kid growing up in Australia, and Australia now is very multicultural. It wasn't when I was a kid growing up, but we had some Indian people arrived in the house next door, and on the other side we had an Italian family, and this was really foreign in Australia back in the early 70s, and the Italian family really tried to speak English, and they were brilliant, and the Indian family stuck to themselves. And I just remember as a kid thinking, you're coming to our country, learn our language, buy into what we're doing, and become part of us. And over time, the Indian family did do that. And when we started to get to meet them, when I say we, I was only a young bloke with mum and dad then sharing stories about it, they were just really nervous about trying to speak the language. Right. And then, so when we moved to Japan, we were that Indian family because we didn't speak the language. We didn't understand the writing. We didn't understand you go into a shopping centre and honestly trying to find the difference between drinking milk and yogurt was really difficult because it doesn't say that. It has writing that you don't understand. So you then realise we've got to buy into this really, really quickly. So we learnt to speak Japanese. We actually got some people coming around on Sunday night. A couple of the boys are coming around, and Kez is making sushi because she learnt from the neighbours in Japan how to make sushi and how to make teppanyaki and how to do the different things there. So we really buy into that. I think it's really, really important. And where we live is our home. We have a house back in Australia. Our two boys live in our house back in Australia, but Galway's our home now.
Right.
And what Irish is coming on well?
I was just going to say, he'll do the rest of this in Irish now because he's learned so much.
Gordon Mahogget, that's all I know, mate. Because I can speak, I'm allowed to speak English here. TG Carter, I can say Carter 4. I can count the 4.
What age are the two boys back home?
25 and 23.
How's the house?
It's a really good question. It's a really good question. We were in holiday in Croatia at the end of last year, and we love fire, so we got a big backyard and we got a couple of fire pits, and it was middle of winter back at home. We're in the baking sun in Croatia, and we rang home middle of the day, and it was like a Sunday afternoon, and one of the boys up the back of well, normally they're inside, but at the back of the backyard, and, hey, Dad, how you going? I said, cool, what's going on out here, you know? He said, oh, I've got a few blokes around for a fire. Give us a look. Oh, no, it's all right. And I said, just spin the camera around for us. There would have been about 15 blokes sitting around having beers, which was cool. That was fine. So just take it easy, hey? No worries. Anyway, about an hour later, we get a message from our neighbour saying, I think your house is about to go up. What? So she'd taken a video over the fence that this fire just got out of control, and we're in Croatia thinking, what's going on here? And funnily enough, they weren't answering their phone, so we sat there for a good long while thinking, have we got a spot? But the house is now good, and we hope, fingers crossed.
Yeah, you're allowed to leave your phone on for the duration of the evening. And is that where ultimately you'll go back to Australia, that when this kind of journey finishes, not a Connacht, I mean, but your career, that's the plan? Yeah,
and listen, Canberra's, I was born in Canberra. I've still got, both my parents are alive. I've got a brother in Canberra. Kerry and I met. We were my only other job other than being a rugby coach. I was an outward bound instructor, and we had our national base was in a little town called Tharwa, which is
what an outward bound instructor.
So Outward Bound is an organisation started in the UK, basically taking people out of their comfort zone and seeing how they survive. So in Australia, that out of comfort zone, you go to the bush. So you're in the bush and you go on a journey. The journey can be anywhere from 8 to 24 days. And it's pretty much like coaching a footy team, because at the front end of that as the instructor, you give a lot of instruction, how to light a fire, how to build a latrine, how to navigate, how to raft, how to rock climb, how to abseil, all that sort of stuff. So a lot of instruction on how to do the stuff you're meant to be doing. You get to the middle portion of the course, and you're giving more leeway to the participants. And they might say, we're going to head down that gully. I wouldn't do that. The gullies are nasty. You want to stay on spurs, for example. And if they take the gully, well, they take the gully, and you end up a day later trying to get out of there. But so it's a bit of a guided discovery learning thing. But normally at the end of the week or the end of the course, it's all over to the participant. So I've taken that. So the end, they finally get to the destination. But the last 2 or 3 days, it's been them. So their experience of the course is that we just achieved this amazing thing. We started here, we finished here, we've done really well. And actually, from a philosophy of the way we coach a footy team, I coach a footy team, we do that. So on Monday, Tuesday, we're heavily weighted, giving these blokes feedback on what we've seen or what we see coming up and what we need to do. As we get closer to the week, we just step back, and these blokes take over, and we just pretty much let them. Honestly, the minute the whistle goes, we're pretty much redundant.
That's interesting. I promise you all I'm not getting into a what went wrong in the World Cup discussion, but I can feel Rory Best almost nodding his head, Brian, because that was almost something he was making a point of. Now, in fairness, Joe Schmidt has said he often even gave the captain's run over to players and all that kind of thing. You know, you're smiling at me when I say that.
Well, just listening to, and listen, I'm not privy to exactly what went on either, but listening to the sound bites from Rory about new information being handed out to them the day before, it's a very un-rugby team-like philosophy. A lot of the detail happens early on in the week. You have your day off to really nail it down, and then Thursday, Friday, that's over to you. And most teams are left. With regard, rather than talk about Joe, about your coaching style. Are you comfortable delegating to your other coaches and having your senior players in on brainstorming sessions, or have you got a very clear philosophy as to how you like the game played?
No, I'm very much into the empowerment, and my view on that is we've got 3 really outstanding coaches. Nigel Carolan looks after our attack, Jimmy Duffy does our breakdown and our forwards play, and Pete Wilkins does our defence. So when I came in to this job, I made contact via the phone, and I said, listen, I'll be here in a month. All I want from you, men, I need you to present to me half an hour on what your philosophy is in your respective area. And if it makes sense to me, I'm going to back it. And if it doesn't make sense, I'll ask some questions and we'll see whether we find some middle ground. But to a man, it was brilliant. It made perfect sense, what they were doing. So I said, well, that's what makes you comfy, and the players understand it. And what was the other pleasing thing for me was these blokes had some input into that too, because it had come out of the end of the previous season, and the players had some input, and the coaches then understood it. And I said, sweet, let's run with that. So that's pretty much what we've run with. And A lot of consultation with our leadership group, of which Tiernan's on our leadership group, but every Tuesday we meet and we talk some admin stuff, but we talk footy stuff too, and what are you blokes seeing? And then there's a lot of consultation throughout the whole week on what the players, because again, it was a long time ago that I played, but I never had a coach who really understood what was happening on the footy field, because you can't. You're in the comfort of an armchair, sitting up there watching, or a box. And I love the coach that used to say to me, "What are you seeing, friendy?" Because I was a fullback. But again, back when I was playing, that didn't happen very often. It happened once, a bloke called Benny Vuxer, and he said to me, "What are you seeing, friendy?" I went, "What?" Because we were used to being told. And I said, "Well, I'm seeing this." He said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, mate, with the opportunity down the short side." "Oh, well, let's run with that." "Oh, sweet." But that never happened. So normally we come in at half time and we're going to the key blokes, "How are you feeling? What's happening? What are you feeling?" And then we'll share our thoughts with it, and then we come up with a collective as to what's going to happen in the second half.
Tiernan, to get your side of things, you came through in 2009 as a teenager, after playing GAA growing up a bit, and then Connacht Academy as well. So, I mean, you chart where Connacht have come from 2009 over the last 10 years. Compare 2009 versus 2019 and where we are now, how different a place it is, how different a club it is.
Yeah, I suppose it's very hard to compare where it is now to then. Even, I suppose, facility-wise, it's a lot different. There's, I suppose, massive plans to go even further with that, with the new stadium and plans. But, you know, I suppose over those years, you get so much experience with different coaches, different players, and like I say, different philosophies. And it is interesting because you think you have the right coach and you think everything's working perfect, and a new coach comes in and, you know, it's something completely different thrown at you, and you have a different way of thinking, a different way of training. And you as a player have to adjust to that. So it always takes a bit of time with that. Obviously, we saw that over the past couple of seasons, since Pat left, I suppose, with the change of coaches there. When he speaks about philosophies, I just think there was a year or two there where we just weren't all on the same page. Whereas the good thing with Friendy coming in, there was just straight away, I suppose, we all knew what we wanted. And we knew it wasn't going to happen straight away. It was going to be a process, I suppose. And that's what, like we said, we've got our leadership group. And with that, because he gives us a bit more responsibility, you know, we have to take that on board. And as much as it seems like it's taking the pressure off us, I suppose there probably is a bit more pressure for us senior guys when we're on the pitch, to make those decisions in training when things aren't going right, and especially in that latter part of the week. You know, it's on us to kind of stop training, bring lads in and be like, this isn't good enough, or whatever it may be. Yeah. But we are the ones that have to have those chats rather than the coaches sometimes, which is different, because back, you know, 5 or 6 years ago, it was very much, this is what you're doing, and that's that.
Right. This is probably an oversimplification, so you can give us your sense of it, but it seemed from afar, obviously, there were brilliant men in there, and there were values of honesty and hard work, and Connacht was never an easy place to go to. And then it seems Pat Lam really moved things on and changed the philosophy to the point where you're playing Leinster in a Pro 12 final, and it's a sunny day, and this suits Connacht down to the ground, and it's all kinds of skills, and that philosophy seems to be there as well, the aim to play football. You might give us your sense of all that. Yeah,
definitely. I think that's one of the biggest changes, I suppose, is, like I said, that mentality probably 7 or 8 years ago of, we were the fourth province, very much, you know, we don't get a lot, we have to fight for everything we get. So I suppose we were kind of bitter towards everything about that. So anytime we played the other provinces, and I know playing against Brian and stuff throughout the years, like, we always wanted to get one over them and show what we can do. So I think that was probably the frustration from the supporters' point of view. It's, why can Connacht beat Leinster in the sports ground and lose to one of the weaker teams away from home, things like that. And we just never had that consistency. We could always raise it for big games against the Leinsters and the Munsters, but we could never get that. Whereas, I suppose, like you said, when Pat came in, it changed our mentality a small bit, that, you know, we've got plenty of backing from the IRFU. We have the players there. We just have to back ourselves and back what we have here. Obviously, I know facility-wise, things like that, we're not where we'd like to be. But at the same time, it is what it is. I think we just kind of get on with it. And that's the best thing over the years, is that consistency now. Our wave form has definitely improved. That was a huge thing for, I think there was 2 or 3 seasons there where I think we might have won 1 or 2 games away from home. And it was nearly, you're defeated before even getting the plane. It was just, we didn't know what we were doing. We kind of had, it's okay to lose this week. We didn't, you weren't saying it out loud, but I think that was just the mentality that was there. And I don't think you can blame the coaches for that. I think it's just, it was in Connacht rugby for so long. That's the way it was. It was kind of instilled in lads, and I suppose it's through the academy and things like that you've got to change the mentality, guys. And that's the great thing, I suppose, about the success of the Pro 12 in 2016, is it gave younger guys confidence in what Connacht can achieve. So now when we get young guys in, or new players in, it's straight away have that belief of winning again, which is huge for us. So I think that's been a big part of it.
What did Lamb do? Because there were always stories that the media loves, like he gets all the players to carry a rugby ball with them or to have one in the house, and that's a great headline or a great piece of info. But in your opinion now, looking back, what was the biggest thing Lamb did specifically? You talked about change of attitude.
Yeah, it was strange. There's a lot of different things, and there's a few things he came in with that lads didn't agree with, but at the same time they kind of but just weird things, like you said, like carrying a rugby ball around all the time with different quotes on it. And he'd always bring different things in, like different type of handshakes that you had to do with people. And
there's one for each county, wasn't there?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Which was, in fairness to Pat, that was one of his big things, was he wanted to incorporate all of Connacht into it, because I suppose there probably was a small bit of Galway City or Galway County as just being Connacht rugby, which I think was really important, to go out to all the five counties and bring them in as one province and make it, show that we care about everyone. And we started going to Roscommon and Sligo and these places and doing open training sessions. And I think, people bought into that, and we saw that, in 2016 after we won it, when the crowds that turned up from all over to show that support. But yeah, it's hard to, I suppose, put a finger on exactly what Pat brought, but I suppose he did instill belief in the systems that we had. He brought in a system, I suppose, the 2-4-2 shape at the time that probably back then not a lot of teams were playing. And I remember our first year doing it, we were really struggling with it because we didn't really know how to do it or what we were doing. So it just got frustrating in trains and things. And when you're in the sports ground on the back pitch there, and it rains as much as it does here and it's windy, it's hard to get through some sessions like that.
I'm sure some people thought we shouldn't be playing that system in this part of the world.
Exactly, and I think, for years, Connacht was, I remember years ago, we did a strike of a scrum just outside the 22, and we put up a high ball. Because that was, we'll put up a contestable. That was just the way we played back then. We played, not to lose games rather than to go out and win a game.
Yeah.
And that was, again, just the game plans that we had. We just played real conservative rugby, and if we had a lead, let's defend it, rather than, I suppose, the mentality of let's go out and win a game and attack. And that's what happened in 2016. We said we'd score more than the opposition, and we just kept on doing it, and eventually we ended up winning it from it.
Yeah. Kieran Keane's not here. I don't think it's fair to get into what went wrong with him discussion. But Andy, as soon as you came in, things seemed to, I remember we were saying that on the radio and just in conversation, there was a sense of, a lot of the values of Lamb have actually been restored very quickly. That ship has been settled very quickly. Did you talk to Pat Lamb at all? Did you feel the need to? Were you aware of what had gone on in the past? Can you give us your sense of what you arrived into?
I didn't talk to Pat, but it wasn't the conscious thing to talk to Pat or not to talk to Pat. But you could see, there's been amazing work done there, and an amazing foundation's been built there. With Pat Lamb, he's obviously had some input there, but probably people before him and players and the backroom staff of Connacht, our CEO, board. There's a whole host of things that are going on there that are really special. And you could, I could smell that as soon as I walked in. You could smell, the Connacht have the three big words: belief, ambition, community. And a lot of people have those words on walls, but you could feel the ambition of the club. You'd seen it, 2016. You could say it was obvious they wanted to get back into that. Through my eyes, anyway. The belief part, they seriously believed that they belonged in not only Pro 14, but they belonged to be playing in definitely Champions, at that time, Challenge Cup, but then Champions Cup. Believe we could get there, and we're here this year. And then the community part of it, that's probably one of the strongest I've seen anywhere, is the wraparound support from the community that, you walk down the prom any day of the week, and I do it most days of the week. It's very hard to walk for a minute and not see someone in Connacht kit. There is Connacht kit everywhere. People love it. But we feel a part of the community, and I think the community feels a part of us, and it's pretty special.
On that, JP Cooney, who's taken over at Corinthians, he had an interesting quote. I didn't realise you were out and about doing this kind of thing, but he was saying that Andy gets us in, he shows us drills that we could be doing with clubs, he's various presentations over pre-season for us this year on what Connacht did last year in defence, how they approached the breakdown, so on and so forth. It's just great to get that level of professionalism transferred down to the club game. And I thought, that's such a fantastic idea to transfer that knowledge. Makes eminent sense. Is that an idea you had? Is that an IRFU policy, or how does that come about?
No, it's probably an idea I had. And again, as a young coach coming through, you look up at these other teams that are doing what you think is amazing things. You think, I'd love to get in there. So honestly, if anyone ever contacts us and says, can we come and watch, can we come and sit in, Yeah, come on in. If someone's prepared to write the email and come on in, probably going to get 600 people now. That's sweet. But we do. You open the doors because what we're doing is not a secret. It's not a secret, and
That's great.
it's
Cyril Farrell's been sneaking into your training sessions for about 2 years at this stage.
good.
Speaking of Cyril, he talked about the mentality out in the West is, I hope we can be successful versus other parts of the country where we're going to win. As an Australian coming in, it's not an Australian mentality to think, oh, I hope we win. How have you broached that, and what have you seen since you've come in? Because sometimes when you win your first your first tournament or your first trophy, it's about breaking the seal, and the next one shouldn't be as difficult to come by. Have you sensed that coming into this environment?
Yeah, I tell you, the biggest thing I sensed, Brian, was I called it the Interpro phenomenon, which was, if this week is Munster, Ulster, Leinster, we're up for that. And I'm like, why does that change? Like, you're still pulling on the same jersey. But it was a real big thing. And you could, if we'd lost a game, we lost a few games last year, and you'd say, how was your preparation? Yeah, all right. Was it the best? Well, it wasn't as good as if it was Leinster. And that's just so foreign in my brain. It's like, how's that any different? If we're meant to beat a team by 30 points, we beat them by 30 points. If we're meant to battle with a Leinster, well, let's battle with a Leinster, but let's go onto that footy field and say, we're going to win this game. And I think it's funny because the media always say to me before any big game, do you think you can win? Yeah, bloody oath I do. And they go, really? I said, I do. I'm not telling you that because I don't think. I honestly believe we'll win every game of football. And I honestly believe that. Maybe that's my warped sense of competitiveness, but until that last whistle, we're still battling there. I still think we're going to win it. And we were with John Kingston, and the first year that Will and I worked together, Quins had just been relegated. We were in the Champions Cup. I remember we were at Oral or one of those play early on, and there was a game, and we were winning by 8 points. And JK said to me, we're going to lose this. And I'm like, we're not going to lose this. We can't lose this. We're going to smash them. We're going to put on another 4 tries, about 8 minutes to go. But sure as eggs, they got another score, and then they got another score. And I think we did lose that game. I'm thinking that's that whole, that compound bias, or that bias where if you start to think something enough, it's going to happen for you.
Yeah.
So to me, that belief is everything. And I think we're getting much better as a team with that now, that pull on that jersey. Doesn't matter who we're playing, we're going to win it.
Well, we might segue into Heineken Champions Cup previews. Will, there's a question in from somebody here, Tom, and it was something actually Brian said at the interval. We must ask Will about that if we get a chance. Just looking for Will's insights into Johnny Wilkinson.
Wow, there's a character. So the best way I can describe him, but I assume at some stage in your career, whether it's school or your hockey team, you've had to do a fitness session, right? We've all had to do a fitness session. And I would say 99.9% of us would want to know what the fitness session is before we start. What's the fitness session? What, you that Scott?
I want to know when I can get to the end of it.
Yes.
What's
so
the
where's
end?
the end? And when do I have to
work back from there?
When do I need to really start this fitness session? The best way I can describe Wilkinson is he never wanted to know, and he stood behind the line, and the whistle went, and he did the first one as if he never did another one in the rest of his life, and he'd empty his tank, and he wouldn't ask for how much rest, and he'd wait for the whistle, and then he'd do it again. And it was just this whole new psyche that I hadn't been part of, which was the old school manager training session, get to the end, and still be standing, whereas he'd sort of dragged us into the 21st century, because that's about the time when he joined. I think he got his first cap in 1998. And it was that level of dedication and that desire, literally every time he left the training field, he wanted to be, even if it was 0.01% better, he wanted to be better than when he stepped foot onto the training field. And it took him into a pretty dark place at times, which he's spoken about, because needing to be better every session is a tough place to be in, because sometimes you just can't, your body doesn't react and can't be there, and he could never quite get beyond that concept that sometimes just doing your best was enough.
But it's what he thrives on.
Yeah.
When we were in Japan, we were doing a promotional day, and we were sitting in the car on the way there, and we started talking about lifting weights and what if
single leg Romanian deadlift.
Correct.
Yes.
If you were to pick up one exercise, what would you do? And I picked a single leg RDL. Don't ask.
Okay.
But yours was
Lat pull downs.
lat pull downs. But Johnny just was like, pretty much anything that's endurance.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just don't tell me. I'll just keep going. And he started telling a story, and I'm not talking out of turn here by saying it. It kind of started where he'd be up in Newcastle, and he was, period of time after being injured in the World Cup in 2003, and he'd go to the games on a Friday night, and then he'd hide in the gym before the match would start because he wouldn't want to be talking to people. Quite an introvert, and he'd be in the gym in his suit and tie, and be like, I might just do a little something. And he'd start lifting a few weights. And he said, it's like that danger weights where you put on too much and you're wondering whether you can actually lift them. And I was like, oh, I got that one. I think I've another one in me. And he'd just keep on banging them out. And then he'd be like, I'll get on the rower here now, in his suit, rower. And I was like, do you get to have a shower? Oh, no, you don't smell till later on, you're fine. But it's just a completely different mentality than we can't get our heads around it because he's so unique, and even being a pundit with him is really interesting but quite difficult because he has these thoughts that it's really impossible to come in off the back of because he thinks and sees the game so differently than everyone else. Very interesting on its own, but it's very hard to go, yeah, I know what you mean, and join him on the point because he just he sees things very, very differently.
And Will, something I've always wanted to ask someone who was around him a lot, he does talk very eloquently about, he talked about his mental health recently, or you mentioned a touch introverted and a bit of a free spirit in some ways, in a lovely way, I think. Do you suspect he ever found the team environment, rugby, rah, difficult to be around for long periods of time, or is it too hard to say?
I think probably at times, if you asked him, I suspect, well, I'm putting words in his mouth here, he would have been disappointed with what he was seeing around him. And probably was like, I'm just fed up with these idiots who are still Corinthian and amateurs and why would they want to have a pint? Or why would they want to skip and cut the corner? Why would they not go round that cone? And I suspect at times that he would, me right at the top of that list would have, he'd have found particularly frustrating. But the story I often tell is when it went to extra time, right? Jono's in the middle, and there's only 13 of us around him. And you think, well, no one was in the sin bin. And it was like 2 minutes before extra time, normal time and extra time. And where's Johnny in that 2-minute period? And everyone says, it's like when Andy says, where do you go in Vegas? You're all leaning in now. Where's Johnny? He was in the dead ball area with Dave Orrid, taking 6 drop goals off his right foot and 6 drop goals off his left foot. Then he got his kicking tee out, and he had 6 kicks at goal. Because he knew that in the next 20 minutes, he'd have to do at least one of those things. And you just go, that's about as good an insight as I can give to you. That if there was an opportunity to make himself better, he would take it. But he's had but imagine how trapped you must feel if that's what you feel the whole time. He's the most awesome human being.
He's brilliant. He's brilliant. I don't think people get a true reflection of what Johnny's like. Because he is quite introverted and because he does celebrity and fame quite badly. He doesn't want anything to do with it, and he'll get to where he needs to go fast, and he doesn't hang around after hours. But you get him in that car environment, and he completely opens up, and put him in company where he's at ease. He is a brilliant, brilliant character, and he's a laugh. And some of the things that you'd be talking about, during Six Nations games while it's going on, I hope the mics are down.
Fascinating. The weekend then, in broad terms, who's your favourite to win the Heineken Champions Cup, Will? Because we're looking at Saracens, and they obviously over the summer looked like the favourites to retain it, and now we're not so sure what's going on there. They're still right in this pool, actually, the way things go.
No, they're not in this pool at all.
Do you not think so?
No chance. Racing and Munster will get out of that pool. Sarries can't afford to play their top players in rounds 4, 5 and 6. They haven't got enough games left in the league. The limitations they have, if you assume that 5 or 6 of them are going to play for England, 5 games in the Six Nations, they're not going to pull out. The real interesting thing, but it's maybe for another time, if they don't get a couple of wins before Christmas, and for example, there are 2 rounds of Six Nations where there are Premiership games, and they really love their club, I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility that they pull out of England in order to make sure that they're not playing in the Championship. When I mean the Championship, I don't mean European. I mean the Championship and playing against Hartbury College and Roslin Park and that sort of stuff next year. So I think their second team will be competitive. They put a mixed team out again this week against Munster. And when it gets to Racing again round the corner and Ospreys, you'll see people like Jackson Ray at 8, you'll see Ben Earl at 7, Ezekwe probably 4 or 5 with Skelton. At no stage in this Champions Cup will you see Vunipola George and probably Vincent Koch. You won't see Cruz and Natoje together. You won't see Vunipola. You will not see their first team in rounds 1 to 6. And on the back of that, with the group they're in, because Racing 92 are pretty special, a monster in this tournament, there's no way they'll get out of that group.
Okay, well that's interesting, because actually the feeling over here early in the week was, given that they had Munster and Racing to go to Saracens, that they had almost rested players, yes, for the Thomond game, but felt they could wangle their way out. We were anticipating a locked and loaded, ready to go Saracens this weekend, so that's not your sense at all.
No, because the problem is that Ospreys are like an Italian team now, and they'll cough up 10 points to both Racing 92 and Munster home and away, and on the back of that, Saracens need away wins at one of Munster and Racing 92, and they're not going to get that.
Okay, so who do you make then the favourite to win the competition?
I still think Leinster could win the Six Nations if they enter the Six Nations next year. I do. I think the way they're playing, Leinster will walk that group. I think Northampton will scrape out of it because they'll get 8 or 9 points out of Leon and Benetton, even if they get none from the Leinster game. I think Exeter will convincingly win their group. I feel Toulouse will be the only team to come out of the Montpellier-Gloucester Connacht group, and there's another pool where 2 teams will come out of it. Ulster and Claremont will both get out of it, because Bath and Quins, Bath have got a new coach. He's trying to find his position, and there's a genuine danger with Saracens at -35 that Wasps, Bath or Leicester could go down, so Hooper doesn't want to get in a shit fight in Europe and be spread on 2 fronts. And Quinn's Gustard's trying to recreate a new squad, be less reliant on his big players. He's handling the Kyle Sinclair affair because he's going to leave at the end of the year because they can't afford to keep him. So he's making sure that he's not dragged down into this bottom half of the table. So there's this little subplot going on in the Gallagher Premiership because of what's happening to Sarries that has severely weakened the challenge a couple of the English teams might have, because there ain't no London Irish, there ain't no Worcester, there ain't no Newcastle down the bottom where they can say, you know what, we can go at Europe because we'll be all right. There are genuinely big clubs now thinking Saracens are coming with a charge and we do not need to be faffing around and getting smashed up in a quarter-final, which is the reality of what they would do even if they got through. Exeter are the one English team because they'll make top 2 blindfolded in the Gallagher Premiership, so they could be safe knowing they'll have a home semi-final. So the team that can go on 2 fronts from an English perspective is Exeter. But the way Leinster played last week, give them the trophy.
Right. Good answer. Is the competition in a slightly dangerous point? You know, because it's been meddled with a bit and they changed the format, and maybe a slightly exceptional year, but you've talked about the attitude of various teams in the Premiership. What's the point in getting to a quarter-final and getting smashed then? Equally, you suspect the top 14 teams are absolutely of that opinion, that, you know, their bread and butter and their priorities, the French League. The Welsh regions are in big trouble. It doesn't seem like the Scottish clubs are kicking on. Like, for us, clearly, we really judged the season, I think, certainly Leinster and Munster in particular, on whether or not they win the European Cup or get to the European Cup final. It's kind of a disheartening thing for the tournament, that maybe it's hard not to feel, are we the ones taking it most seriously in this country? Is everyone else kind of, it's a semi-bonus point?
Has that not always been the case?
It feels like it's getting a touch worse, is it?
I think the French clubs have always been like that. When the Bouclier, the top 14, still is the one that they want to win.
Yeah.
I think Toulouse you have to be concerned about. We're talking about the race for 5. Who can get to number 5 early in terms of trophies, and their squad is big enough to go on 2 fronts. But teams like Lyon still settling down. They're up near the top of the top 14. That's their focus.
Yeah.
And you can see the way they pick their teams for the European Cup. And I think as long as there is a genuine threat, and there is in France, of you getting dragged down into a bun fight. Now with England, certainly there is that bun fight this year with Saracens. I think it's unfair to say the English teams haven't gone for it.
Yeah.
Recently. I just don't think they've been good enough.
Right.
Is a better way of putting it.
Have they written themselves off after a couple of games? Is that what's happened early on? They've realised, all right, we'll give it a crack.
Yeah.
And then if it goes great for us like it has for Exeter, okay, maybe we can do it on two fronts. But actually, as you know, particularly after round 3 and definitely after round 4, the likes of Quins, in many ways, the worst thing that could happen to Quins the weekend is for them to win.
So with Newcastle last year, classic example. They won away in Toulon, didn't they? Found themselves top of the group. And they were bottom of the Gallagher Premiership. It got to round 3 and 4, and I think they went to Edinburgh.
That's right.
They went to Edinburgh, and you think you're top. You've beaten Toulon away. You go, and Dean looked at the Gallagher Premiership and he put a second team out. And you're like, what's the point?
Yeah.
What is the point? But as long as there is promotion relegation, which I'm a massive fan of, you do run the risk occasionally of teams being caught in a position whereby it's just not possible for me as a coach to put my team in a position whereby we could go down, and then you have to prioritise. And are you prioritising? If you get relegated, you're getting the sack.
Yeah.
If you don't get out of the pool in Europe, you're not getting the sack. And it's not about being on an individual, but the sack involves, or relegation involves, livelihoods, everyone in the organisation.
Sure.
And I think
Yeah.
you have to put that first.
Andy, you're obviously, as a Connacht, absolutely getting into the playoffs and giving the Pro 14 a massive effort. Must be a huge priority at the start of the year. At this stage in Europe, though, even though you're up against it and it's a really difficult pool, and you could argue, geez, we're on the back foot, it would just go against the whole ethos to bow out in that way. There's no chance Connacht are not going to give every single game, even in round 6, however things are, a full medal jacket, full team. That seems to be the way on the outside. What's your attitude to it?
Yeah, it's exactly that. Yeah, we want to win every game. Again, now, as I said, we never enter a game thinking we can't win. Is that realistic? Probably not, but that's the way we are, and we can't change that. So Gloucester this weekend, we're putting out a team that we think can win it. And if we do, and if we get 5 points, and if Toulouse was to lose, and you never know, we're still in with a fighting chance. And you know, everything you say there makes perfect sense, Will. But it's sport. You know, who knows what's going to happen? And I think the obvious teams, as Will pointed out there correctly, they're the stronger ones. You can see that. You can see that they got quality. But we set two really significant goals at the front end of the year. One was to get a home quarter-final in the Pro 14, and one was to try and make the playoffs in the Champions Cup. We'll know after this weekend whether that one's alive or dead.
Yeah.
We'll keep fighting.
You'll beat Gloucester this week. You'll beat Gloucester. And the way the French do, they shake hands on it in the home and away legs. Toulouse win the home one, Montpellier win the home ones. Job done. You're back into it. The reality is, you're gonna have to.
There you go.
Yeah. Love it. The reality is, Toulouse are chasing 5, and it's not a Toulouse that came here a few years ago at turned over, which I think is round 5, is it?
Yep.
Yeah. Toulouse come here in round 5, and that's your cup final. Because you'll beat Gloucester this weekend. They've got eyes elsewhere. They've just broken a run of 5 consecutive defeats. They're up against it a little bit. You drag them into the dog track, 12:45 Saturday, get 10 pints down your neck, start blow a gale, and they won't get off the bus.
Tiernan, Andy would really appreciate it if you didn't repeat that to the lads in training tomorrow. Let's just keep it.
They should all be in bed at this stage.
Tough challenge.
I just want Will to go and talk to Gloucester. Just let them know.
So listen, to round things off, I guess we're going to see you back on a pitch very soon. You were playing brilliant rugby last year. I remember watching on Air Sport, Eddie O'Sullivan and Luke Fitzgerald were saying, like, you're arguably the form fullback in the country at that stage, and you know you've obviously been recognised at the international level before. Is that a massive aim for you? Is that something that's really driving you on to get back in there and try and make a mark at international level, or is that an unhelpful thing to think about?
Yeah, look, I think every player that plays in Ireland wants to play for their country. I've been lucky enough to taste that on a few occasions. So ultimately, 100% it is to get back on that stage. Obviously, there's new management in place and things there, but it's still, for the same time, for me at the moment, it's just about getting back playing with Connacht. Obviously, I'm coming off the back of a pretty significant injury. Like I said, years gone by are kind of behind you now with a new coach and stuff coming in as well. So it's all about, I suppose, going forward now and what I can do for Connacht this season when I get back in. Obviously, we've had a bit of an injury crisis in the back 3 at the moment. So hopefully I won't have a massive amount of competition coming back into. But at the same time, you still have to work your way back into form and work your way back into the team. In 2016, when I got my first cap with Joe, I suppose it was that consistency of playing well that got me into the squad in the first place. So I think that's the main thing, is just getting back into consistent form. Because I know over the past couple of seasons I've had some really good games, but I've also had a few shockers as well. And I suppose back then I was kind of getting away with it because I had a certain amount of caps and not that many lads behind me that I got away with and got to play the following week. Whereas now it's different. You have lads playing well, playing good rugby. Well, I suppose before this little mini injury crisis, but all the back threes were going really well in pre-season, so you kind of push you on more and more. And I think at the moment it's the most amount of competition we've had in those back threes. So I think that's only going to drive me on as a player, and hopefully us as a team as well. So it's all about, I suppose, just those consistent performances for me.
Okay, good man. When will we see you back, give or take?
Well, hopefully next week.
We'll see.
No, I think I'll hopefully return into training next week, and then we'll see how we go in the Christmas Interpros, please God.
Good, okay. Well, listen, it'll be great to have you back. Thank you so much for doing this. Andy Friend, especially in this week, we really appreciate you coming. So a round of applause, everyone. Andy Friend, Tiernan O'Halloran.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, we are going to set up for our competition. So we have Stephen and Mark. Stephen and Mark, you have been picked. Are you around? Can you come up on stage? We'll get this underway and we'll divide the teams up. So our teams are, well, it's the Centre of Excellence is the team. Will, you're going to be captain of one team. Over
Right.
you come. Brian O'Driscoll, captain of another.
What are we doing?
Stephen, you're on Brian's team. It's a surprise. This is called a hurl and a sliotar. That's for later. Stephen and Mark. Stephen, how you doing?
Stephen, how are you?
Who's Stephen with? Oh no, I'm sorry. I know you're with your mate. I meant Brian or Will.
You haven't come alone. Good, good,
Yeah,
good,
yeah, good.
But that's okay too. That would have been fine.
And Andy or Tiernan here.
Hi, Mark. How are you?
Yeah. Have I got Tiernan or Andy here, JP?
Oh, Christ.
It's going well, JB.
Okay, Andy here, Tiernan here. Jump up you go.
Hi, mate. You too.
Huh?
What's your bench press, Mark? Good bench press, haven't you?
Tell you down here, boy.
Oh, stop.
Switch of teams, very important.
Unlucky. You're friendly.
Yep.
So are we pretty much locked and loaded, JP? I keep saying locked tonight. I don't know what that is.
Drink sensibly.
Yes, exactly. Okay, we are ready to go. This is to give away a pair of tickets for the Toulouse match on the 11th of January. Let's get the quiz underway. JP.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're very welcome to Off the Ball's Centre of Excellence. Please give it up for your host. He's Mr. Wednesday Night. It's Joe Malloy.
Okay, welcome along, everyone. We have themed tonight's quiz as the Off the Ball Centre of Excellence. That is what we are putting our guests through. Allow me to welcome our captains. Our first team captain tonight, a man who was never bothered by those windy nights in the sports ground, mostly because the breeze made his flowing blonde locks look so damn good. It's Brian O'Driscoll, everyone! Joining Brian, a man whose Connacht credentials are impeccable. Born in Clifton, he went to school in Ballinasloe. He played for the Galway Miners before switching to Connacht Rugby. He's living proof that a diet of snack boxes and the saw doctors won't hold you back. It is Tiernan O'Halloran. And on Brian's team, we have Stephen. Stephen, hello.
Hello.
Where are you from?
County Galway.
Good man. Let's not go more specific than that, though. Keep it tight.
Just outside Loughrea.
Loughrea, good man. Connacht fan?
Big time.
Okay, excellent. You would take 2 tickets to Toulouse in January.
They go nicely with the season ticket.
Our next team captain. Like all of the class of 2003, our next captain hates to mention the fact he's a World Cup winner. Whatever you do, don't mention the 2003 World Cup to him, nor is MBE for winning the 2003 World Cup. We are not jealous at all. The quarterfinal's a much better round anyway. Yeah. It is Will Greenwood. Joining Will tonight, a man who has fallen in love with Ireland. Who needs the Great Barrier Reef when you've got the Wild Atlantic Way? Who needs the Sydney Harbour Bridge when you've got the Spanish Arch? He's a friend of Connacht. He's a friend of Off the Ball. He's literally a friend. It's Andy Friend. And the final contestant is Mark. How you doing, Mark?
Hi, it's going.
Thanks for coming along. You would also, I presume, like 2 tickets to Toulouse.
I would, yeah.
Big Connacht fan?
I am.
Have you got a season ticket?
I don't.
Okay, your need is greater.
I still play. Not for Connacht.
Okay.
Let's have a few pints.
Jeez, for a second there, I was worried as hell. Who have we dragged up and not recognised? Okay. You have no idea what this quiz is. You've never seen anything like this. So, there are 3 rounds. The answers are on the internet. The judge's decision is final. We are going to start with round 1. This is the Connacht Specialist round. This is for Andy and Tiernan. Your Connacht knowledge is about to be tested. If you don't win this, obviously you're a disgrace. Okay, no conferring, and obviously I know lots of you will know the answers, so keep it stum so that we have the integrity of the quiz and the lads get a fair shot at winning the tickets. Andy, you're up first. What is the capacity, Andy, of the sports ground to the nearest 100?
8,500.
8,100.
Great effort.
Extra seating sometimes.
Extra seating sometimes. We went with the internet. It was a tricky one, maybe, yeah.
We got another 400 in last year.
You can have a word with JP afterwards. Question for Tiernan. Now, I presume this is all over. I saw this question. I presume this is all over the training ground. In what year was the Connacht branch of the IRFU founded? And will accept an answer, very generously, I'm told, to within 5 years of the correct answer.
1882.
1885, which is correct. Fuck.
Should have known that.
I should have known that, yeah.
I got a basketball jersey at 85 on it because it was 1885. Yeah, I thought it was 82. My bad.
Okay. Question 2 for Andy. Who is Connacht's leading all-time try scorer, Andy?
I'm going to say Matt Healy.
Correct. Thank you. Good man.
I'm trying to put him off there, point to me.
Question number 2 for Tiernan then. Who is Connacht's leading all-time point scorer?
I think there was a bit of confusion with that last year. I think they actually said it was Jack Carty, but I'm pretty sure it's still Eric Elwood.
You're correct. Well done. Good man. Good knowledge. Okay, that is the end of the Connacht round. Kieran scores.
Brian's team have 2, Will's team have 1.
2-1. Okay. So, this next round is the skills challenge, the Centre of Excellence skills challenge. I'm going to need you over here with Brian. I'm going to need the rest of you to sit down somewhere vaguely safely, just be under the knowledge that there will be hurling going on of some description. Okay, so what we have here...
I've had 4 pints.
You've had 4 pints. Okay, great.
I am not good on this.
Oh my God, not using those, are we?
No. You played cricket, no?
Wow.
Okay, take one. Were you listening to Cyril Farrell earlier? Whoops. Right, Cyril Farrell, come over here.
Leave the room.
We're going to give you a tutorial. Cyril, take that. What we have here, you can see our Centre of Excellence.
Jesus Christ.
We have Messrs. Caroline, Horan and Brian O'Driscoll. If you hit O'Driscoll, you get 5 points. Bottom is 1 point. Middle is 3 points.
How much do you get for the TV screen behind?
You get a bill. So you're going to get 5 attempts each. Cyril.
That TV screen's fucked.
These are very soft. Cyril Farrell, we're going to ask you to give a demonstration.
Hit the bum on Will Carling's face?
Cyril Farrell's going to talk you through a few tips from Cyril. Right.
Who's Brian?
Will.
You're going to
guess first.
You're going to demonstrate for these 2 what they have to do, because one of them definitely knows, and maybe both of them.
Oh, yeah.
Soft.
Right. Any tips for them as you're doing it? You can.
Well, you can catch either whichever suits you, left on top or right on top.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The funny thing.
What did he say?
And after that, you throw it up and you follow through. Just throw it not too far away from you.
Can you go forehand?
You can, yeah, if you want to, yeah.
Why wouldn't you go forehand? What a stupid game.
I'm going backhand.
Oh, you can go.
What?
Well,
I'm
if you
going
want, you can go
backhand.
like tennis.
Okay. See
That's
the
called,
ledge. Go for it.
that's called the brick Welsh.
What are we going? Which one are we going for here, Cyril?
I better pick the easy one.
Well, that's fair enough. Right, go on. Let's see what you got.
What do I do with hit it?
Well, I think that'd be a good idea, yeah.
that way. I think I'm going to go lefty.
This isn't the new hurling ball now. Next year, we have one that's green. We can't miss it. That's the idea. Well, it might be he's with the jacket on.
Oh! Not bad. Not
Pretty
bad.
good.
There you go. It's that simple. Now, you've been taught by an All-Ireland winning coach, so, you know, there's no excuses. Cyril, thank
Pay off
you.
the championship keys.
You can stand back and watch the madness unfold. You're going first, are you?
Brian's the boss around here, so if he's going first, I'm going first. So if I'm right-handed, do I do it that way?
Yeah.
Okay, so...
Do I get one practice or not?
Oh, I had that. Give him a practice.
No, he doesn't get a practice.
He's probably going to miss it.
I feel like that was deliberate. Right, hang on. I'm snapping back. I don't trust either of you now. Okay. Oh.
Yeah?
You're up. 0-all.
You got double-handed, did you?
Yeah.
Oh!
Oh.
So I told you that TV. I told you the TV.
Yeah, all right.
Oh.
Better contact.
That's a good shot. How many do we get?
You get 3 more.
3 more.
Yeah. Oh.
2 hands.
Hey! 1 point.
2 hands.
Probably this doesn't do it. They're both left-handed.
Right, last go each.
Why?
Sorry, that was Brian's going hand.
Has he played this before?
I don't think he said. No, he hasn't. 1 more go each. A round of applause for the worst exhibition of hurling we've ever seen.
Make
Cyril,
contact.
thanks very
Make
much.
contact.
Cyril, thank you. Cyril Farrell's going to go off stage. We're going to finish with our quick fire round. Thanks very much, Cyril.
Thanks, Cyril.
Thank you, Cyril.
Right, back in your quiz positions.
Good luck. Hit it.
We'll get our quiz tables, can we? Or will we just plough on without them?
Plough on.
We'll plough on without them. Okay. What's the score after that?
Will's team have 1 and Brian's team have 3.
Okay. It's still all to play for.
Did he only get 1 point for winning that?
Yes.
Did he not get what he's hit those? No.
He got 1 point for getting it in the box at 1 point.
go in.
That's how it went. So, 3-1.
We were good at that, weren't we?
We're into rapid fire round.
Clip that up for social.
Preferably not me getting smacked in the face, but whatever. You know, it's okay. We can do what we want. All right, let's move on to the rapid fire round. In this round, you'll be given 30 seconds. You answer as many questions as you can. Any one of you can answer. You're allowed to confer if you want. You get 1 point for a correct answer. You don't get deducted any points if you get it wrong, so you might as well either say pass or take a guess. Okay, so we're going to start, JP, with Will's team.
Brian's team.
You chase us?
We're starting with Brian's team. Okay. Oh, leader starts. Excuse me. Okay. So I've explained that to them, but you got it as well. Okay. Okay. Your 30 seconds starts now. Which team did Ulster beat last weekend?
Quins.
How many points were Saracens deducted start of the season?
35.
Where do Northampton play their home games?
Franklin Gardens.
Name the last French team to win the Heineken Champions Cup.
Toulon.
Which Irish player holds the record for most appearances in the Heineken Champions Cup?
Ron O'Gara.
What is Gloucester's nickname?
Cherry and White.
Name the only Spanish city to host a Champions Cup final.
Bilbao.
Last year's European Player of the Year. Alex Good.
I wouldn't.
Remember he stayed in the jersey for a few
Remember.
days? All that
Remember,
stuff?
yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you correctly said Harlequins played Ulster. Saracens were deducted 35 points. Franklin's Gardens is where Northampton play. Toulon were the last team to win the Heineken Champions Cup. Ronan O'Gara has the most appearances. Cherry and White's correct for Gloucester. Bilbao is correct.
Decent score.
I make that 7, Kieran.
Decent score.
7.
Okay.
Brian's team have 10.
10-1.
10-1.
10-1. 10-1.
good.
That was good.
That was good.
So the score is 10-1.
Yeah.
There's 10 questions here.
Right. Right. Good. Friendly always believes he's going to win. Yeah, we're going to win.
Okay. Your 30 seconds starts now. Who scored Munster's only try against Saracens last weekend?
Peter O'Mahony.
Who was man of the match in Leinster's win over Northampton?
Josh van der Flyer.
Where do Harlequins play their home games?
Stu.
The out half who started for Gloucester against Connacht at the weekend.
Danny Cipriani.
The only Italian team competing in this year's...
Benetton.
In which year did Robbie Henshaw join Leinster from Connacht?
2001, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9,
2016.
10.
Correct. Leinster's head coach before Dan McFarland.
Leinster's.
Yeah, Ulster's.
Let's kiss.
Let's kiss. Give us 5 extra seconds.
I'll give you 5 extra seconds. 5 extra seconds. Which two teams? I'll give you 5 seconds. Which two teams participated in the 2012 Champions Cup final? 2 Irish teams.
Leinster, Ulster.
The only Irish province John Cooney hasn't played for. That's right.
Leinster, Ulster, Connacht, Munster, Leinster, Munster, Ulster, Connacht. Any one of them. No.
That could be the win.
Yes, got that. Yeah. So
I think we got
great effort.
Close.
Peter O'Mahony did score. Josh van der Fleer was man of the match. The Stoop is where Harlequins play their home games. Danny Cipriani did play for Gloucester. Benetton, the only team in the competition. You said 2016 for Robbie Henshaw. So correct. Who was Ulster's, my apology, who was Ulster's head coach? It was John O'Gibbs. And then I asked you who participated in 2012. You named all 4 Irish provinces. You said Leinster and Ulster, which I gave as correct. So.
That's all 10.
So that's 8 total.
8.
So 9 in that round.
We didn't get John O'Gibbs. We
He
didn't
said
get
let's
John
kiss.
O'Gibbs.
Said let's kiss.
Well, you said Les Kiss, so they didn't get that one.
Draw.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the score then?
So, Brian's team have 10, and Will's team have 9.
Wow. Great effort.
It was right there.
Great effort. Mark, hard luck.
Well done,
Good man. Thanks for playing.
Well done.
Well done, friendly.
Stephen, good man. So
Sorry about the
congratulations.
hurling, Mark.
You've won a pair of tickets
Sorry
to
about
the
the
Toulouse
hurling,
game in
man. I
January to
wouldn't
go
have
with
been
your
that
season tickets.
frustrated.
You'll also get to be involved in the coin toss, and you get a tour of the stadium, and it should be a really nice day. So thank you so much for coming along and for coming up on stage. So Stephen and Mark, everyone.
Well done.
Just to
Well done, Mark. Thanks.
Cheers.
Just to say a big thank you. Everyone here at the Galway Hotel was just brilliant all day for us. Our brilliant guests. We had Will Greenwood, who was just brilliant, everyone. On a very busy week, we had Andy Friend. He guarantees you he's playing in a week's time. It's Tiernan O'Halloran. Co-host extraordinaire Brian O'Driscoll. And Cyril Farrell as well, everyone. We are doing the draw. We are not doing the draw. Perfect. Ignore all that. Suffice to say, that was a brilliant evening, really enjoyable. Thanks again to all the guests. Thanks so much to you. Good night, good luck.
Well, Saturday. First night, round 5. It's